In the middle of the vast square, the rustling of the wind made the scene romantic. The people stood around watching the four merchants they once loved now being hanged in such a shameful manner. I know everyone is skeptical. Why are we bringing them up here? Lu Feng spoke up to explain what was happening. Yes. What is this all about? Didn't we say we were going to catch the horse bandits? People started to talk excitedly. Not letting people wonder too much, Lu Feng spoke up. Because they are the pirates. His strong voice made the red-haired man's eyes widen in surprise. The villagers panicked. What? In order to sell their food and gain benefits, they colluded with the bandits and burned all our food. Then, because they were afraid of being exposed and having to confess, they fled and were caught by us. Lu Feng pointed at them and said. His words were like knives stabbing into the hearts of the people. Their beliefs, after being deceived, began to freeze with cold indignation. Yes, I was at the scene yesterday, I saw it too. Each person spoke up about what had happened, their confidence was slowly being lost. Those damn grain merchants, making us have no food to eat, they deserve to die. Everyone started looking at them with eyes full of hatred, sharp as if wanting to eat them alive. These heartless people, just for their own selfish interests, brought wolves home. Harming the lives of all the people in the city, everyone was talking about how to punish them. Lu Feng pointed out their evil nature. Let everyone give their opinion on punishment. Kill, yes, kill them, kill. Everyone raised their hands in unison demanding to kill them. The red-haired guy had a gag wrapped around his mouth but he still tried to speak as if no one could hear him. He looked like nothing more than a ridiculous thing. That's right, this kind of person absolutely cannot be treated lightly. Despite the red-haired man's pleas, Lu Feng became more and more determined. I announced that the grain merchants colluded with the Ma-Zi. The evidence is clear. The crime is unforgivable and the punishment is hanging. He raised his hand and shouted out the order to punish them. The sky was red, the birds were singing, the church bells were ringing, signaling a murder had just happened, a horrifying scene that no one could have imagined. For their own benefit, they set fire to the grain warehouse, raised prices, making life difficult for everyone. Lu Feng wanted to comfort the people. Also, to prevent this type of crime from happening again, the city lord is now starting to make an announcement. The city lord's mansion has loosened the grain trade, from now on everyone's barley can be sold to the city lord's mansion. This is good news for the people, buying and selling barley, that is, we can also trade barley. People started whispering again, happy, what they never thought was suddenly announced. Warmth and prosperity are the first step. As long as the price of barley is stable, there will be no need to worry about the people not having enough food to eat in the future. Lu Feng may look young, but he is very mature in his thinking. He is truly a young sprout of the country. He is handsome and talented. My lord, what do you mean by selling to the city lord's mansion? The people seemed to not believe their ears. They just understood one thing and then another thing they couldn't understand. Lu Feng explained to everyone that he looked very cute right now. After the autumn harvest, if any family has a surplus of barley but has no place to store it, or is afraid of mold and rot, they can sell it to the city lord, and there will always be a beautiful girl who will buy it from everyone. Of course, we will buy according to the market price, then when a family is short of food, we will sell it again according to the market price. We will definitely not charge more than a single coin from everyone, and at this time, there will be a prettier girl standing by to sell to everyone. Again, there was such good news, the people cheered happily. People couldn't believe what Lu Feng announced. This would mean that people wouldn't have to worry about food and money in the future. Everyone, rest assured, since I, Lu Feng, have become the city lord, I will definitely take responsibility for this Xiang city. Lu Feng used his reputation to assure everyone, as well as to strengthen everyone's trust in him. From now on, our western city will not have anyone die of hunger. Everyone's faces were filled with happiness, warm smiles, and hopeful eyes looking towards Lu Feng. This was great. If there had been such a good city lord earlier, my younger brother wouldn't have died of hunger, and there would even be people crying from emotion. Long live the city lord, everyone celebrates their city lord, this seems to be the wish of all the people. The desire and happiness of the people has never been so intense. Together we built the western city, in a prosperous town, in the middle of a grand palace, majestic and peaceful in the face of nature, the gloomy space was strangely airy. The western city is now considered stable again. We are also starting to get into order, everyone is discussing in Lu Feng's office. Regarding the newly implemented issue, Lu Feng sits at the table in the middle of the office, listening and absorbing everyone's opinions. Today, the positions will be rearranged a bit, the division of labor is clear, Lu Feng's face exudes excitement. Position, what position will Lu Feng brother give me? A cute and lovely little girl is equally excited. Niu Ban, in charge of managing all matters, was appointed as the general manager. Yes, young master, you are ready to receive orders. Finally, after many days of trying, he got a position that suited him. He wore the new title, Grand Master. The young master was still a bit unfamiliar with this position of general manager. Suddenly being given such a high responsibility made him a bit worried. Nicole, you used to be both a housekeeper and a secretary, it was hard. Lu Feng praised the pretty young lady just now. From now on, you only need to be in charge of internal affairs and do a good job as my general manager. Nicole's perspective, she is truly a girl who loves boys, always infatuated with handsome men. Yes, Lu Feng brother, young master, her eyes showed hearts as if she was in love, her face was infatuated and obediently accepted the order. General Manager of Internal Affairs. The secretary position will be given to Ellie. Still not satisfied, head secretary. Seeing Ellie standing there with her arms crossed and frowning in annoyance, he teased her. Okay, her reluctantly accepting face is also really cute. As for Mina, you stay with me and take charge of my safety. Lu Feng's expression changed when he mentioned Mina. A firm and determined hand holding the weapon, it was indeed Mina. The name reminded me of the strong tank general who was gradually being upgraded in the Endless Plains. Isn't it the same old position, dreamy purple hair, cat-like eyes, and a three-headed monster? Makes her more attractive and sexy. Guard by your side. Alright, from now on, everyone will work together to build the future of Xi'an City. Lu Feng's attitude became more and more energetic, determination was like a fire burning within him. Yes, not only Lu Feng but everyone had the same goal. Then things couldn't be delayed. Lu Feng smiled wickedly again, his eyes were sly, but still looked so cute that people wanted to bite him. Under the harsh sunlight, like the sunlight of the north in the middle of summer, just crack the egg on the street and it will cook in a flash. Yet there are strong and indomitable people with extremely white skin, standing solemnly without a trace of black. The mighty army stood still, not even bothering to look at the girls passing by. Young master, this is the final round of soldier selection training. Niu Bo was reporting to Lu Feng. He was like Goku, standing out with his fiery hair, the city lord. The atmosphere of everyone's warm welcome made him happy. Not bad, looks good. Bring it here, he snapped his fingers and ordered. Two tall and strong soldiers brought out a table covered by a large, mysterious cloth. What was it? It was so mysterious that everyone was curious. The table was placed down, Lu Feng used his hand to pull the towel out. Open it, he pulled without hesitation. Before their eyes appeared bright, shining bows, like gold and jade, shiny, causing everyone to be startled and surprised. Here is a bow, it seems different from the bows we usually use, the half bow already shows prestigious material, shining brightly. What material is this? So beautiful, isn't it wood? The more you look at it the more beautiful it is, showing the sophistication of the bow. This is the divine bow I brought from my homeland, the Fan Kuk bow. Lu Feng held it up high for everyone to see, as if he was advertising his hometown. Divine bow, reflex bow, never heard of it before, as expected of the city lord's item, everyone was amazed at this new weapon. I plan to select 50 people from here to become elite archers and form a counter-archery team. The counter-archery team, it seems very powerful, is this the weapon they use? Everyone started to discuss excitedly, whoever wants to try it, if they shoot them they will get a reward. Lu Feng invited everyone to come up and try the product he had just advertised. There's a reward, want to try it? Aren't you good at shooting arrows? But I've never used this type before. What if I lose face? Everyone started pushing each other. It's not like no one would dare to try. Lu Feng began to challenge everyone below. Report, strong footsteps, gradually stepping up, I want to try, a tall chubby guy, face happy to try, hands quickly warming up in preparation position. The temple comes from another world, the scenery is still the same, the sun is still harsh and not gentle. Report, I want to try, young master Lu Feng. A kind-hearted guy with a calm face, the type of many girls, obediently come and try. Good, Nyo-san has temperament, Lu Feng praised him for his courage in facing the challenge, his expression very satisfied. Ngutam held the bow very firmly in his hand. He held the arrow up and prepared to aim, his hand raised high to aim carefully. Look at me, I definitely cannot disappoint the young master. Even though I was so confident when I tried it, I was still worried when I tried it. Just pulled up to the waist, he seemed to be mentally ill. Two jaws clenched, face pale. But he lost control of the bow, it hit him in the face, it looked funny. Oh no, his nose bled like a water hose, then he fell backwards, making everyone's faces turn pale. He quickly stood up, stomping on the bow as if he wanted to crush it. I can't believe it, like a man's helplessness. Failing in the face of a difficult challenge, Nyo-san screamed out of control, his two hands tightly gripping the bowstring. It seems like he stretched too much, so he hit a vulnerable spot, almost breaking his most precious thing. Mirror face immediately changed color, from shame to confusion. Not only did he not satisfy Lu Feng, but on the contrary, he made him even more disappointed. He could only pat his forehead helplessly. This bow was too stiff. That's right, even Nyo-san couldn't pull it out. It really couldn't be pulled out. Everyone began to worry about this new weapon. Lu Feng also began to think, it seemed that his idea was not yet perfect. Young master, this bow is too hard, and it is not like the bows that everyone usually uses. Why don't you try it out and show everyone? Nyoban asked the young master to demonstrate for everyone. After all, this was a weapon from his hometown. Lu Feng, was startled. It seemed like he had never used it before. Just looking at it is scary, and you still want people to be models. That's right, you should demonstrate it for everyone to see. Lord City, if you bring it to everyone, you can probably pull it out too. Mina also added to urge Lu Feng to perform. How could that be? He started scratching his head in hair in confusion, scratching everything. But if he wanted me to shoot the bow, there was no time to think anymore. Lu Feng finally picked up his bow. Every time I cross the space between Earth and another world, my fighting strength and physique increase. I've crossed over so many times already, using this bow and arrow to shoot shouldn't be a difficult problem. All thoughts started to rush into his head. Okay, then I will show everyone. With that he started to raise his hand to hold the bow, pull it out and shoot. With the majestic demeanor of a city lord, the confident aura emanating from him made everyone surprised and exclaim in admiration. The city lord is truly amazing, city lord, so amazing. The subordinates were in an uproar as if they were going to see a celebrity perform. It turns out that the young master is so formidable, both of them were surprised by this unprecedented formidableness. Come on, try it quickly, yes, young master. After Lu Feng finished performing, he took the bow and gave it to Nyo-san and instructed him. His left hand clenched tightly, his waist exerted strength, his legs stood firmly. The city lord's careful guidance made him even more confident. This time he definitely cannot fail. He used all his strength to pull the bowstring. Facial muscles wrinkled, whole body still shaking slightly. He was able to pull it. Finally, after many times of teaching, he was able to pull it. Everyone gradually became confident in the bow. But where is he going in the palace? Before they could celebrate, everyone started to panic, because the arrow was aimed straight at everyone, and Nyo-san's hand was still shaking as he pulled the bow, ignoring the surroundings. Wait. Everyone gradually became tense and scared. Ngutam let go. The arrow shot straight, shot closer and closer to everyone. But luckily it flew up into the sky, causing chaos in the area. So the arrow has returned to the bright sun. The sky was silent, people stood still. As Ngutam sighed, a black crow made a puddle on his head. The whole area was in an uproar again, all eyes turned towards Ngutam. It seemed that this dangerous weapon was still not suitable for these kids. Lu Feng could only hold his head helplessly, no different from an unsold advertising product. A crane fell from the sky, with an arrow piercing straight through its belly. Big round eyes started to turn towards it again. Looking up at the sky, the flock of cranes was missing one. Here it is. The crane was so far away and yet he hit it. This bow and arrow is so powerful. It is truly a divine weapon. They were already amazed by the skill of the archer. Now they were even more amazed by the power of this arrow. Success. Oh mother, Nyo-san was happy when he saw the scene before his eyes. He was like a child who had just accomplished a feat and brought it home to show off to his mother. He looked big, but his spirit was no different from a 3-year-old child. Iron smelting records of another world. Under the bright summer sun, flocks of birds are looking for shelter behind the tree leaves. In the distance, on the mountain top, the snow covered the whole area. The scene was majestic. At the iron smelting workshop, workers were hard at work. One group was using picks and shovels to scoop ore onto carts. Others were pushing wheelbarrows full of iron ore into the furnace. Today, Lu Feng, Mina, and Nyoben visited the iron smelting workshop. The three of them walked through the corridors that were hung with the workshop slogans. The potential of the land was endless. How much iron could be created depended on the people. The people with the courage could create more iron. Although the slogans are short and simple, they convey important content, promote the working spirit of workers, and help them work more enthusiastically and positively. Indeed, the workers of the guild were very hardworking and diligent. No matter how harsh the sun was, it could not melt their iron hearts that were loyal to Tae Duong Tan. Lu Feng saw this establishment and thought to himself happily. With a bow and arrow in hand, he could also forge iron. Haha, I am invincible. Suddenly someone shouted. The iron is out. Lu Feng turned his head towards the person who spoke. How come so fast? An old man with a long beard and a haggard face approached Lu Feng. My lord, we have forged iron. We don't eat your meat for free. You see. In the old man's hand was a tray containing a red-hot, smoking mineral. He assumed it was iron. Lu Feng looked at the object in the tray and was shocked, not understanding what this iron was. What the hell was this? How could someone here smelt iron like this? Lu Feng sighed, looking gloomy. It was still too early to be happy. It seems like I still have to rely on myself. Lu Feng, Mina and Nyoben went to the place where iron ore was obtained. In this strange world, the first step was to smelt iron and pound iron ore. This is a remote rocky area. The strong and healthy workers had to use big hammers to break the layers of ordinary soil and rock on the outside. They selected the iron stones inside, then loaded them onto the truck and returned home. Not bad, Lu Feng commented. The three of them went to look around the mining site. Suddenly saw a worker using the wrong hammer technique, so not only could he not break the stone but he also cried out in pain. Lu Feng saw this and immediately walked over to give him instructions. Go ahead, use force, and hit it like a man. After saying that, he stood there watching the young man do it. The young man was happy to see the city lord personally come to guide him. City lord. Yes, sir. With that, he tensed up, using his inner strength, causing the muscles all over his body to bulge. The young man swung his hammer high. That's right, that's exactly it. Lu Feng was pleased to observe the young man who could learn so quickly. The hammer just fell, breaking the large rock. Small pieces of rock flew everywhere. Suddenly, unfortunately, a piece of rock hit Lu Feng in the face, making him dizzy. Nyoban and Mina only had time to scream. Young master. Oh my god, he got shot while lying still. Lu Feng lay still in pain. This kind of bad luck was too much. He was in good shape, handsome. Suddenly out of nowhere a huge lump appeared on his face. Here, the second step in smelting iron is the lighting of the fire. This group of people are gathered around an unlit stove, making a commotion. It won't light up. The firestones were all wet from yesterday's rain, so they can't be used to make fire. A young man held 2 stones in his hands and rubbed them together as he spoke. In this strange place, the fire-making technology is too primitive. Lu Feng witnessed that scene, his eyes smiling meaningfully. Ha ha. Let you guys feel the true black technology. Lu Feng took out a lighter from earth and told the young man to try it. Boy, try this. The young man was surprised when he first saw the lighter. He didn't understand how such a small thing could create fire. He wondered if this thing could really create fire. Lu Feng saw this and smiled proudly. Of course, this is the high technology of our homeland. Saying that a lighter is high-tech is too much of a lie, my lord. High technology must be tried right away. The young man eagerly tried it out. But he tested it by taking the stone from earlier and hitting it on the lighter that Lu Feng had just given him. Lu Feng froze for 3 seconds, unable to react. Then, bang, bang. The high-tech gadget from Lu Feng's hometown exploded, and a dark atmosphere enveloped the entire group of people. What does it smell like? Someone asked. It stinks, hoo-hoo. The reply was shaky and helpless. Lu Feng was still lying motionless on the ground, his voice hoarse. Are you trying to play with me? Well, I gave you a high-tech toy without a manual, so I'll take responsibility. Oh dear, Mina stood beside him, one hand covering her nose, grimacing and calling Lu Feng. Wake up, young master, there's still somewhere to go. The third stage, smelting iron, refining. A person is pursing his lips and blowing into the furnace. The other person asked anxiously, why hasn't it gone out yet? Or is the fire too small? The other person replied, I'm still blowing on it. Lu Feng appeared at this moment and said, look at me. Lu Feng took out a long and thin tube, pointed one end at the furnace door, and brought the other end to his mouth and blew hard. Phew, suddenly the fire in the stove flared up quickly. The fire burned down to reveal a block of iron still glowing red inside the furnace. Wow, it's melted. As expected of the city lord. Everyone applauded Lu Feng. Lu Feng happily handed the bellows to the worker and said, consider it done, don't make any more mistakes. The two happily took the bellows. The man with side-parted hair said quickly. I understand. He said and ran out. A moment later, he came back with a pipe of very large diameter. As big as his whole body. He ran and shouted. Everyone move aside. Let me. He ran straight to the stove. Put one end of the tube into the fire and start blowing through your lips. Lu Feng was so surprised that he could only wave his hand. He shook his head vigorously. He meant to stop. No, don't do that. But it was too late. Boom. Boom. The stove exploded. Lu Feng and the people around were thrown away. Thrown into the air like deflated balloons. Oh dear. After a day of surveying, Lu Feng encountered one disaster after another. I'm afraid he didn't check the date before leaving. But he still raised his head and said, I'm still going back to smelting iron. Next time, remember to burn incense carefully before leaving, Lu Feng. The sun was rising higher and higher. The scorching heat made people tired quickly. Having just experienced consecutive accidents at the Iron Smelting Guild, Lu Feng continued to go to the paper mill. The reason for such a hard time was because since Xi'an City had been established, it was time to focus on development in all aspects. Lu Feng had made detailed plans for himself and Xi'an City. Phew. Lu Feng sighed tiredly. Being a city lord really requires skill. We shouldn't go to the iron smelting workshop anymore. Making paper is still safer. Lu Feng said to Uncle Niu Ben. City lord. You finally arrived. Old Man Buff shouted happily when he saw Lu Feng. Lord City Lord. Old Man Buff really has a talent for comedy. He stood there calling his city lord over and posed as if he was taking a picture. Lu Feng couldn't help but feel surprised and confused when he saw him like that. What kind of pose is this? Is he a handsome guy? Not responding to Lu Feng's teasing, Old Man Buff simply said. City Lord. Look. A few more steps and the entire paper factory appeared before his eyes. It was not at all like Lu Feng had imagined. There were large and small wooden planks scattered on the ground. Even the frames used to dry the paper were broken and fell down. Torn paper was scattered everywhere. It was not wrong to say that it was a scene of devastation. The paper workers were struggling in the battlefield. Some were trying to clean up. Others were exhausted and helpless. It seemed like things were going badly. Lu Feng was shocked when he saw this scene. He shouted loudly. What the hell? Was this place just burned down? Old Man Buff now had a pained expression as he explained. City Lord, this paper-making technique is too difficult. The craftsmen really don't understand. Lu Feng looked thoughtful. Didn't I specifically find a book that clearly explains how to do it? What exactly is it that I don't understand? Lu Feng approached the workers who were working. He directly investigated the cause of this incident. One person was standing reading a book. The operation of copying paper, after adding materials and water to dilute, filter out impurities, then cut it out. A person standing nearby asked. What do you mean? He didn't understand what the book said. The other person replied. I don't know. It seemed he wasn't the only one who didn't understand. Another person ran over from afar. Here, let me see. Before he could get there, he was yelled at. Stupid. You can read? Suddenly realizing he couldn't read. He had no choice but to say. That's right, I can't read. Does anyone else know how to read? Just a little bit of knowledge from reading books had already made the workers so confused. Lu Feng held his head in frustration. Oh, it seems I overestimated everyone's knowledge. And literacy. While Lu Feng was having a headache because of his subjects, he suddenly heard a girl's hearty laughter. Ha ha, ha 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 ha. It was Ellie. Ellie was lying on the ground laughing. I wonder what Ellie was so excited about. Lu Feng curiously approached. Ellie laughed out loud again. Ha ha ha, I died laughing. Lu Feng snatched the piece of paper that Ellie was drawing on the ground and looked at it. Hey, what are you doing? When she brought the piece of paper closer to Lu Feng, she suddenly realized that she was in the drawing. But it wasn't something to be proud of. Ellie was drawing the moment Lu Feng was blown up when the iron furnace exploded. Ellie was caught red-handed drawing someone's ugly picture by the Lord, so she was confused and explained. Listen to me explain. Lu Feng did not reply, but his expression darkened even more. Ellie was scared and stammered. No, ow. Ellie thought Lu Feng would be furious and scold her for daring to disrespect the city lord and draw a picture mocking him. But suddenly, Lu Feng's expression changed and he asked Ellie with a smile. Besides this, what else could she draw? Ellie was stunned by the surprise. Don't be too surprised, girl. Then you will know? A moment later, Old Man Buff asked Lu Feng. City Lord, is this okay? Don't worry, the layout is clear. Lu Feng stood with his arms crossed and smiled happily. Below, Ellie was diligently drawing. Here, as you requested. Ellie stood up and handed Lu Feng a stack of papers. Lu Feng applauded. Good. Lu Feng opened each drawing and looked at it. As expected, Ellie did not disappoint the city lord. He continued to praise. As expected of the chief secretary of Xi'an City. Truly a master of both literature and martial arts. Old Man Buff standing beside him added. As expected of the city lord, he is thoughtful. Like this, even a child can understand it. Lu Feng raised the stack of papers high and called out loudly. Everyone come here and see. So the workers came to see. Everyone looked at the stack of papers with a very funny surprised expression. Here. Here is. It turned out that Lu Feng asked Ellie to draw the paper-making method from the book for everyone to see and understand. Ellie did a great job. On the page were clear pictures describing the detailed steps of paper-making. Anyone can understand it. After reading, everyone raised their hands in unison to praise Ellie. Miss Ellie is so amazing. Even illiterate people like us can read and understand. So amazing. Ellie laughed smugly. Ha, it's just a small matter. There will be many more places where everyone will be impressed. Lu Feng looked at Ellie and thought to himself. Ha, already smug. So the difficulty in making paper has been solved. For now, paper making is gradually becoming routine. First, the paper product can be put into use. Iron smelting here is also better than before. Having Ellie's course would have solved the problem. Now just do it a few more times, it will be better when you get used to it. Old Man Buff said to Lu Feng. Yeah. Lu Feng let out a sigh, holding the windowsill with his hands, his eyes looking into the distance. He was silent for a while, then turned to Old Buff and said. Wait until these things are done, then quickly build a school and a market. Yes, my lord. The old man of the western city received the order. Young Master Lu Feng. The selected anti-bandit army has already finished training. Why do we still need to do these things? Uncle Nyo Ben entered the room and asked Lu Feng. Lu Feng turned back and replied. Fighting the bandits was not just the beginning. Stability comes before development. He said and reached out to grab a rope on the wall. What I really wanted to do was. Lu Feng pulled the string hard, causing a large map to be spread out on the wall, revealing the image of the Xi'an city map in front of Nyo Ban and the old man Buff. This is the whole future of the western city. The vivid map detailed the images that Lu Feng would build in the future. It seemed that the lord of Xi'an city was also an ambitious person. But the greatest ambition is probably to bring this western city to prosperity and wealth. On the road stretching along both sides of the golden rice fields were people, horses, carts and bags of food. They are entering the western city. Father, I don't know what's wrong. He sent me to a remote and poor place to discuss business. Tori complained as he walked. He was a young man from some noble family, very fat, with short, thin hair that was parted in the middle. His face was small in every way, except for his eyes, which were large, because his chubby cheeks were so full of flesh that they took up all the space, making his mouth look tiny. His neck was very short, and all the flesh was spilling out on both sides of his collar. He wore a purple aristocratic robe with a shawl behind his back. His big belly bulged out so much that his shirt had to stretch out. The robe combined with the loose pants made his body look even shorter and rounder like a potato. His arms and legs were tiny, disproportionate to his body. His limbs looked like 4 toothpicks stuck into a potato. He was complaining to his subordinates about having to go to the western city to discuss business. The subordinate continued. Yes, what a pity, spending 150 caddies of food to become a meeting gift. Giving it away for free. Let's go, finish this quickly and go home. I really don't want to stay here another second. A moment later, Tori's men, horses, and carriages entered the city. The scenery of the western city was very different. Construction sites were everywhere. 2- and 3-story houses are still under construction, growing close together. The sidewalk is paved with wide, airy stone, the working atmosphere is busy and bustling. The walls are painted glossy, the wooden door frames luxurious. Tori felt like he was walking into Hong Kong again. His mouth was wide open in surprise. Is this really the West Coast? Still stunned by the prosperity and splendor of the western city, Tori was speechless, suddenly. Lord Tori, the subordinates shouted. Tori was hit in the head by a falling wrench, fell face down, and was stunned. Oh dear, you want to die? How dare you attack Lord Tori? Tori's subordinates shouted loudly. The workers standing on top of the building also didn't hesitate to argue. It's because you guys don't care about your lives. Can't you see the sign of the Lord of the city? As he spoke, the man pointed to a sign posted outside the construction site. Construction underway, unauthorized persons not allowed. Tori read the sign and chuckled to himself. The pirates were coming, what the hell was this Lu Feng trying to do? Finally arrived at the castle of the Lord of Taeduong City. Lord Tori, welcome to Xi'an City. Uncle Nyo Ban greeted Tori with a smile. Tori was filled with admiration when she saw Nyo Ban. Wow, why is this city lord different from what I imagined? He's dressed so beautifully. Tori stammered. Baron Lu Feng, I am very happy to come to Xi'an City. Nyoshu seemed surprised by Tori's mistake of thinking he was the city lord Lu Feng. But he also bowed respectfully to the person and replied. Mr. Tori, you must be tired from the long journey, the city lord has prepared tea and snacks. Please, Nyoban leaned forward to lead the way. At this moment, Tori was even more surprised when the person who welcomed him was not the city lord. City lord. What, this guy dresses better than me, yet he is not the city lord, then who knows how heroic a city lord would be. Tori was invited into the castle and a plate of breakfast was brought to the table. Tori's eyes lit up with greed and her mouth watered at the sight of the food. He thought to himself, this is a cake, it's so beautiful. Mr. Tori, please eat, the city lord still has some work to take care of. He will be back soon. Nyo Ben invited Tori to eat. Tori forgot all about her duties when she saw the food. Business can wait, the cake is so delicious, I must eat first. Go ahead, I will wait here, Tori replied. Then Tori took 2 cakes in both hands and brought them to her mouth, closing her eyes to fully enjoy the taste of the food. Wow, it tastes so good, buy it, buy it. Tori said while chewing. Seeing Tori's appearance, Ngoban could only laugh secretly. Tori kept putting the cake in her mouth, talking as she ate. This is the taste of the human world. Suddenly, ugh, it's over. Tori looked down at her plate, which was now empty except for a few crumbs. He regretted. What to do, I still want to eat. This looks delicious too. Tori stared at the plate. Jingle, Nyoban only had time to say oh, then suddenly the sound of a broken plate rang out. Jingle. From outside the door, Lu Feng and Mina walked in. Lu Feng spoke. I'm sorry, Mr. Tori, to keep you waiting for so long. Smiling, Lu Feng looked down at Tori and, oh no, Tori lost a tooth from taking a bite of the cake plate with a gleeful expression. Lu Feng and Tori looked at each other speechless. Lu Feng thought to himself. Isn't it said that Beifeng City is near the river, and that trade and commerce are very developed, making it the number 1 or 2 most prosperous city in the West? No matter how you look at it, the city lord looks like an idiot. Thinking so, Lu Feng spoke again. Hello, I am Lu Feng. Tori was still holding the chipped plate in his hand, 1 tooth missing, his eyes wide open as he looked at Lu Feng. He was Lu Feng. What a majestic presence. Indeed, the Lord of Taeduong City has always been a man of excellent demeanor and outstanding charisma. With a strong body, handsome and elegant appearance, combined with an impressively designed outfit, it further enhances the dignified and majestic demeanor of a lord. Tori looked at Lu Feng, almost wanting to bury his head in the ground in embarrassment. He stammered. Baron Lu Feng. Vin Han. Lu Feng replied. Vin Han, please sit. Please sit. Speaking of which, I must thank Mr. Tori. Last time, it was fortunate that we had barley from Beifeng City, and that was how we overcame the difficulties. I wonder why you came this time. Lu Feng began the conversation. Tori smiled and waved his hand. It is our honor to be able to help Baron Lu Feng. This time I came here to ask you to loosen up the fur trade with us. Tori also went straight to the point. Fur trade. Nyoben asked again. Mr. Tori, you've gone too far. Fur is an important material for the military. Nyoben sternly corrected. As a noble, you should know what this means for a territory. Tori smiled wryly at Uncle Nyoban's tough attitude. He said. I also know this is a bit difficult. But the situation is special. I hope that Baron Lu Feng can consider it. Lu Feng thought to himself as he heard Tori speak. Run to his place to sell military supplies. Fingers tapped rhythmically on the table. Humph. Looks like this Bac Feng city is not so beautiful. Tori watched Lu Feng's attitude, silently praying that Lu Feng would agree. After thinking for a while, Lu Feng immediately said, then loosen up. Nyoban stood by and listened to Lu Feng and was startled. Huh? Really? But young master. Lu Feng waved his hand, there was no need for Nyoben to worry. Lu Feng continued. It's just that, I have one condition. Tori was delighted to hear that. Condition? What condition? I want a large amount of livestock. Not much. Just 100 buffalo, 300 goats, 200 horses. This young master has advanced iron smelting technology, so there is no need for that outdated fur. On the contrary, it would be better to exchange it for some livestock to serve the agriculture in Xi'an City. Lu Feng calculated in his heart. Tori objected to Lu Feng's conditions, thinking that it was too much. He said, wait, that's a bit too much. Lu Feng asked again. So, how much can you bring? We can only bring 30 buffaloes. Is that too little? Okay, 30 is 30. So 300 horses, 200 goats. Tori thought he had just found a bargain, but Lu Feng woke him up. He thought to himself. Is this guy a devil? Lu Feng asked again. Wouldn't it be impossible? Tori hesitated. Here, he thought. Intelligence says that the pirates are ready to act. If this fails, then I will definitely lose my 100 pounds of fat. I must know this. He offered the price again. How about 30 buffaloes, 120 horses, and 300 goats? Lu Feng frowned uncomfortably. He just hummed. Tori worried. Wasn't that enough? Oh my god. Lu Feng on this side saw that Tori seemed to be giving in and secretly laughed in his heart. It was just as he had expected, the art of bargaining he had practiced at the market was quite good. Seeing Lu Feng still hesitating, Tori spoke up. Lord Lu Feng. This is it. Lu Feng suddenly reached out and said, let's do it. Happy cooperation. So the deal was done. Tori cried tears of joy. Ran to shake Lu Feng's hand repeatedly. Mouth kept thanking Lord Lu Feng. Finally the deal was done. Tori set off for home. Lu Feng, Mina and Nyoban went to the door to see him off. Lu Feng spoke loudly. Tori walked slowly. No seeing him off. Tori cried a river on the way home. Was I fooled? Was I really fooled? Young master, Uncle Nyoban spoke. Tan forced Feng to buy military supplies in such a hurry. It's possible that Ma Tak has already taken action. Lu Feng just snorted and spoke without turning around. They should also prepare a little. The dark night fell on Lima City. Inside the castle a man was wiping the blood off his sword. As expected of the son of a count. What a vicious and stupid dog, keep your voice down, do you want to be buried with him? Baron Carter reminded his son. They were sitting in the castle of Baron Homa, the lord of Lima Castle. A corpse was lying in a pool of blood. Two people were kneeling on the floor. Baron Homa sat on the chair above, coldly speaking. In that case, all my servants, grain merchants, and knights are dead? A cold expression, sharp as a knife, appeared on the Baron's face. The two people still kneeling at the foot replied tremblingly. Yes, that's right. So, where's the money? Homa continued to wipe the blood off his sword and asked. No, not found. Suddenly a sword swung up, blood splattered everywhere, ending the life of the person who just spoke. The remaining person saw this and was extremely scared, his face drained of color. Grain merchant, servant, knight, money, who did it? Homa continued to ask, casting a sharp gaze towards the man who was trembling in fear. He could only close his eyes and muster up the courage to speak. It was said that those who attempted to assassinate nobles were publicly executed. With that, a sword slashed down from their backs. There was no more fear, only corpses that had just had their lives taken away by their own lord. Homa shouted angrily. A bunch of trash. Seeing this, Baron Carter spoke up. My lord, don't be so agitated. Dealing with Yangshi City is as easy as turning your hand. It's not worth it to ruin your body for a bunch of trash. Homa turned back. No, Carter. Wasn't Tan Te Duong sold from your hands? You old fox, you wouldn't pretend to cooperate with me and then act like a ghost behind my back, would you? Homa doesn't seem to be easy to fool. He directly read Baron Carter's mind. Carter quickly waved his hand and denied. How? How could that be? My lord, your doubts hurt an old man like me. I sincerely want to cooperate with you. He tried to fake a smile. That's right, Lord Homa. If we didn't have the will to cooperate, the knights and your men wouldn't have played the role of horse bandits to rob Beifong City. Carter's son, Fez, spoke up to defend his father. You better not try to trick me. Otherwise, Homa repeated, warning Carter and his father. Don't dare, don't dare. If you have any doubts about us, then I will personally go and give you a clear understanding. Carter bowed deeply to Homa to show his sincerity. But he just said, okay, then put away his sword and turned to leave. Carter sat there, thinking. It seemed he should return to that godforsaken place, the Western City. Back to the Western City. The scenery is beautiful and airy. The streets are bustling with people, laughter, and joy. On both sides are tall buildings with extremely beautiful and magnificent architecture. Here, the footsteps stopped. Carter and Fez disguised as merchants stood in the middle of the street, looking around in amazement. Am I really out? Was this an illusion? Or did I go to the wrong place? Carter was suspicious, not realizing that this was the poor and backward city of Xi'an that he had once sold to Lu Feng, and now it was so different, so luxurious and prosperous. Suddenly, someone spoke. Hey, have you heard? The city lord's mansion is recruiting workers again, and the pay isn't cheap. Carter turned his head to listen. The city lord is really good, he works and gets paid. That's right, unlike that old Carter from before, who only knows how to exploit us. That's right, he recruited us to work, but didn't even give us enough to eat. What an evil man. The group of people were talking as they walked, they were gossiping about their city lords, including Carter, who they considered a devil. Fez forgot his disguise when he heard those words and rushed forward angrily. Damn it, are these commoners itchy? Carter quickly pulled Fez back and whispered. Stupid, do you want them to recognize us? Suddenly there was another loud shout. Look over here, the people who were talking were pointing at Carter. Old Carter was startled. Damn it, he didn't really recognize us. Run. Carter and his father ran away. After running a short distance, they suddenly stopped. What happened? It's the city lord. City lord. City lord, look this way. Cheerful cheers and whistles to attract attention echoed throughout the street. It turned out that the crowd had come to welcome the city lord. They regarded their city lord as a living Buddha. Fez spoke to his father. It was that brat Lu Feng. Huh, why are there people from Beifeng City here? Carter wondered when he saw Tori. Lord. Lord. Lord is so handsome. The shouts continued to ring out. Tori clasped his hands and said to Lu Feng. Baron Lu Feng, I have brought all the cattle and goats you wanted. Regarding the fur trade, Tori hesitantly waited for the answer from the Lord of Xiang City. No rush, no rush. Come with me to this place first. I guarantee there will be something that will satisfy you. Lu Feng replied. So mysterious. What the hell does this brat want to do? Go. Go see. Carter said to his son and his men. Fresh air at the Taeduong commercial market. The huge red curtain blocking the palace gates looked like it was about to cut the ribbon. What was this, a market? It was definitely something the Lord had come up with. Everyone was talking excitedly in front of the gates. Almost all the villagers from all over had gathered here. Lu Feng stood on the podium and gave a speech. Gentlemen, in order to make the lives of the people of Xiang City better and better, to improve the quality of life of the people, our Xiang City is building a central commercial market. As he spoke, he held the scissors and prepared to remove the tape to open the market. The young man exuded the dignity of a city lord. While everyone was talking towards the market gate, there were still a few jealous people lurking from afar. What is this Lu Feng doing? Humph, what good things can a commoner do? The two men wearing Arabian-like hats said with disdain. The busy tape broke, the scissors decisively cut it in two, the sound representing a new opening, a new future, a new domination, a new ideology. The Western market was finally opened, the hopes and dreams of many people had come true. The curtain was drawn as if opening a new horizon. Inside were stalls selling all kinds of food and drink, and there was even a picture of the sexy maid Mina posted next to it. There are also colorful lollipops. Precious, sparkling ceramic vases. The scene before their eyes made everyone cheer with joy, everyone clapped their hands enthusiastically in response, from the elderly to the children, there was something for everyone. This is the big market the old man discovered earlier. Everyone, please come in and choose for yourself. Lu Feng announced to everyone. He wanted everyone to be able to shop freely without worry or guilt. This is also a way to bring the two classes closer together, without distinguishing between landlords and slaves. You girls should also go take a look, if you like anything, just buy it. Lu Feng also did not forget to remind his two children, his melting smile made the two girls nod obediently. Yes. Too many things, come in and see, hey, don't push, get out of the way, people are starting to rush in to buy things. Everyone was in a hurry to look for valuable items, leading to a jostling situation. They didn't care about their surroundings, so they pushed the other two to the floor, causing them to suffer excruciating pain. Don't push anymore, my waist, the two of them screamed in vain, the more they talked the more they were trampled, stepped on mercilessly. Finally leaving behind on their bodies the footprints of their shoes imprinted on their clothes, lying on the floor. You idiots, just wait. The white-haired man gnashed his teeth and cursed at them. Before he could recover from his anger, he was kicked in the head, causing him to hit his face on the floor again, almost breaking his nose. The young man rushed at the man without him knowing, and even acted very happy, leaving the white-haired man speechless. At this rate, these two will probably have to get plastic surgery. Those commoners dared to step on the heads of the nobles. They finally got in. It turned out that these two were from noble families. After the villagers struggled, the two of them were able to stand up, but their mouths were still muttering curses. Boss, how much is this fruit candy? The lovely girl's voice caught the two people's attention. It was the beastman beside Lu Feng. It seemed they also recognized this girl with a fox tail. 1 piece costs 1 cent of steel, is it that cheap? I want 10 pieces. The boss quoted the price, making the little girl startled and unable to believe her eyes filled with happiness. A steel coin. The two of them looked at each other and asked the same question. What is steel coin? Steel coins are the coins that our Lord has just issued. 1 copper coin is worth 10 steel coins. They don't even know this. A commoner answered their questions. A commoner dared to look down on us. The two of them felt tickled by the commoner's sarcasm. This Lu Feng actually secretly created this ridiculous thing, the white-haired man said with envy and arrogance. This is not trash, the old man actually thinks this is something wonderful. You see over there, the old man's eyes widened as if he had discovered something. They did not look towards the Western ceramic shop, which was owned by the nobles of Beifeng City, but instead they saw their fellow countrymen, who were also nobles. I want 50 of these pottery, no, 100 of them, pack them up for me. This fat noble boasted loudly and wanted to buy all the things in the store. He didn't expect to find such beautiful things here, but what would happen to his family's forest if he bought them? He caressed the vase and talked to himself. Forget it, the poor have to choose, I want all of this. The fat man's greedy eyes flashed, his 2 hands seemed to want to embrace the whole world. All 200 coins, the white-haired man was shocked by the price of the items sold here. So convenient, in the eyes of the 200 copper coins were sold. Not only that, adding the money of those commoners, the two nobles began to discuss with each other again. The boss got me 2 kilos of barley, I wanted it too. Everyone rushed to buy things as if it was for the end of the world. I saw this first, let go, it was clearly me who bought it first, you had to let go. Gradually the harmony turned into jealousy and envy fighting for it. It can be called an internal war that is happening more and more. This is only the first day and that Lu Feng guy has already earned so much money. If this place was all ours, the white-haired guy said with a trembling voice full of jealousy. No, Xiang City is ours to begin with. As long as we can take back Xiang City from Lu Feng, then what is Homa standing in front of us? The old man seemed to be unconcerned, but his eyes said it all, the eyes of reckless ambition. The old man suddenly turned into a child, his eyes changed to a smug, sly smile. Running, catching 2 monsters who were kidnapping children, stopping, the villagers suddenly changed 180 degrees. They just charged straight ahead, the exit was right in front of them, they went and hid there. The 2 men ran straight towards the door to escape. But it was not that easy, another soldier stopped him at the gate, daring to cause chaos in the market. There was no way he could escape. A young man immediately warned, "Beastmen, everyone come up here." All became chaos, knives were being slashed at each other. The white-haired soldier escaped. Clenched his fist and punched the other guy straight in the face. A straight punch without any resistance, the beast gave up its life. Another guy rushed up and demanded a knife to cut my teeth. The other guy just sat there holding his teeth and crying. A flash of light made his hand tremble and he could not hold the knife firmly. Another fist stabbed straight into his heart, making his eyes widen. Fell to the ground, making the other 2 panic, speechless. Here. Capture them and hand them over to the city lord. The subordinates were as if they had just captured a lamb and were showing it off to their mother. Every one of their eyes lit up and they laughed mysteriously. So wronged, their miserable cries rang out, disturbing the quiet blue sky. At this time, Lu Feng was taking Mina to buy lollipops. He gave a coin to the owner to receive a cute pink lollipop. Even though he was the city lord, he still had to pay when buying things. This big market is so bustling. Mina obediently sucked on a lollipop, secretly praising the young master. Of course, it depends on whose idea it was. Lu Feng started to become arrogant, but still tried to act humble. Young master, we caught some monsters that were kidnapping children. The sound of people's voices caught your attention. Monsters kidnapping children, you slowly turned around. Sir, it's them. The little brother held a spear in one hand and pointed the other at those guys to accuse. Quickly lower your head, it's Lu Feng, don't let him be discovered. Both of them were forced to kneel on the ground. The old man sat and pressed the white-haired man's head down, not allowing him to raise it. Young master, it's Carter. Mina is such a sharp cat girl. Before Lu Feng realized it, she was already preparing to attack them with a knife. Carter, the damned old man. An arm stopped her action. Don't be so hasty. Lu Feng reminded her not to act rashly. He tortured me like that back then, I can't let him off. Mina felt so wrong that she couldn't calm down. She just wanted to rush up and kill them right away. I won't let him off either, but they disguise themselves like that, it definitely isn't a good thing. The two of them started to turn pale. Lu Feng then looked at Mina, let me go probe. He used his eyes to communicate with her. It's up to you, she snapped angrily. Her angry face left Lu Feng speechless. Only then did he approach the two of them. For soldiers stood around, enough to control these two. Don't make a move yet, Lu Feng ordered his subordinates. Yes, the soldiers obediently followed orders. Cough, the two of them disturbed the market security, so they were taken away and locked up. Yes, he ordered them to be temporarily locked up so that the market could continue. Really, being captured by these commoners again, my whole life of wisdom is wasted. This old man refuses to submit, refuses to be humiliated like this. Wait, Lu Feng, he loudly called out to him, his hand outstretched, you dare to directly call Lord Lu Feng's name. Say it and get kicked for being rude. You guys just wait for me. The old man got angrier but couldn't do anything. He took off his hat. Lu Feng, I'm Carter, and Fez too. The two of them started to pat their chests and introduce themselves. Huh, Mr. Carter, Mr. Fez, why are there two of you? Lu Feng pretended to be startled, as if nothing had happened. His face was like a professional actor. Forgive me, your subordinates do not understand, and consider you a monster that catches children. Lu Feng hurriedly ran over to hold the old man's hand and help him up, his face filled with hospitality. But, Mr. Carter, didn't you two go to the big city? Why did you come back to Xiyang City? Lu Feng started teasing the two men, still not forgetting to tease them. This, the old man awkwardly replied, he couldn't let them know that he came to investigate him. At the same time, he couldn't say what he was thinking, because he knew that his purpose of coming here was already a test. He lied, Baron Lu Feng, I want to discuss something with you, it's about Xiyang City. Lu Feng led the two to the table to enjoy tea, as if drinking tea to welcome the two. On the side, Nina kept turning the knife in her hand as if to threaten these two men, while Lu Feng calmly sat drinking tea. Your Excellency Carter, what do you want to talk about in Xiyang City? Lu Feng asked. It's not a big deal, it's mostly me. Old man, he started to talk nonsense. When people get old, they immediately remember the past. It has only been a few days since leaving this small town, but they have lost their appetite and sleep, and their bodies always feel uncomfortable. He started to cook chicken and duck. Pretending to be a good person, I wanted to shamelessly buy this western city from Baron Lu Feng. Suddenly he became serious, what a shameless old man. Buying the western city, Lu Feng reflexively repeated his words. Humph, what the hell is this? His body is not good, he must have been moved by seeing the benefits of the big market. Lu Feng already knew what he was thinking. I also know this request is a bit too much, the old man started to laugh awkwardly. But don't worry, selling to me will definitely not lose your money. He firmly asserted to Lu Feng, the quartz bottle you gave me has increased to 18 gold coins. Increase it 3 times, I can use 4. The more he spoke, the more he realized how slippery this old man was. Young master, here is your wine, this lovely girl interrupted the old man's arrogance. What, a lapis lazuli glass, and it was even used to hold wine to entertain guests, did it intentionally hit me in the face? The old man seemed tickled when he saw the 2 sparkling glasses of wine. Many thoughts arose in his mind, each thought was bad about him. Please enjoy yourselves, both of you. Young master, I'll take my leave. After putting down the 2 glasses of wine she quickly left. It seems like the two of you have come to an understanding. This Carter's face was as black as ink, this little girl came at the right time, it seemed like this was also a pre-planned action. The old man still naturally acted as if nothing happened, picked up his glass of wine and drank without offering it to anyone. The wine was good wine, and he kept praising it. What a pity, he sighed. Baron Carter, why are you sighing? Humph, still want to pretend. Lu Feng had his eyes on every move of the old man. Baron Lu Feng, actually I returned to the city because of that day. He also spoke gently and slowly, because of me. Lu Feng was startled. The old man began to look around and observe carefully. Then he leaned close to Lu Feng and whispered. Everyone knows that every autumn harvest season, the Matak come to raid the 11 Yang Citadel. But they are always small raids. But recently I heard news that this year the Matak came to raid the 11 Yang Citadel. The scale will be larger than previous times. He spoke as if he had just revealed shocking information. Lu Feng propped his hands on his hips, falling into deep thought. He patted him on the shoulder and said proudly. I cannot let Lu Feng, the 5th Duke, fall into a disadvantageous situation. From somewhere around him, a sparkling halo of light was emanating. This Carter guy, I can see how thick-skinned he is. Lu Feng is speechless at his shamelessness. Actually, what Mr. Carter said was reasonable. Lu Feng pretended to understand his story. He was also surprised that his nonsense had someone who sympathized with him. So, he put his hands on the table, his face looking like he was waiting for the results. But if this castle has been sold to me, whether I live or die, I can only accept it. I absolutely cannot let Mr. Carter bear the burden. Lu Feng stood up and objected as if he did not want to burden him. Here, his face is stiff and dull like autumn leaves. But, if Mr. Carter has information about the pirates, I will gladly use this cup to exchange. As he spoke, Lu Feng took out the cup. The old man knew he had fallen for Lu Feng's trick and angrily slammed the table. Lu Feng, you. Before he could finish his sentence, Mina's knife had already stabbed straight into the table in front of him. The sharp knife made him suddenly wake up. He regained his composure and began to pretend. Regarding the news about the pirates, I have no idea. But if Baron Lufeng has no intention of selling the city, then I won't bother him any further. Let's go. He quickly turned around and left. Hey, Mr. Carter, sit down first. This wine has not been finished yet. Lufeng smiled friendly and asked the old man to stay. Lufeng, you dare to play with me? He started to get angry to the extreme, gnashing his teeth but could do nothing because this was not his territory. In Taeduongtan, where Carter lived, the afternoon sun reflected on the desolate landscape. Well, father, when will we move back into the city? Your son thought you would regain the city, so he happily ran out to welcome you. The jade quartz cup has now tripled in value, that city lord must be very happy. Like father, like son, both have the same evil and crooked ambitions. Get lost, the old man glared so hard he shouted straight at his beloved son's face, making him pale with fear. The old man sat down on the chair with a resentful face. Father, what's wrong with you? The child just now hurriedly asked, not knowing what happened to him. He looked at his collection on the shelf, the sparkling glasses lined up, there were a lot of glasses, right? I had good intentions to buy back the city, but I dared to refuse. He still had the nerve to mention it again in resentment. The son was struck by lightning. What? He rejected her. Is this brat tired of living? The son spoke for his father. He looked like a useless piece of shit. Where are the knights? Quickly call all the knights here. I want to see how much patience that Lufeng has. A child who doesn't understand anything started screaming to humiliate his father. Stop, don't get excited. He slammed his hand on the table. What a useless child. His father had just been embarrassed, and now he was going to embarrass the whole family. Looks like that Lufeng guy is not simple. Naive old man, why did he only realize this now? The son is just now starting to become enlightened. But he is just a snot-nosed guy. Are you still afraid that he has 3 heads and 6 arms? The useless person started to look down on the talented again. No way. Absolutely not reckless. He was truly an experienced person. Always knew his limits. Stopped at the right time and place. That's why he now reminded his son. Thinking about how he killed the grain merchants and knights, this was definitely not something that a normal person could think of. He began to deduce the reasoning to research. Furthermore, he had a group of beastmen protecting him. If he went to kill him now, he might betray him. His judgment was getting smarter. It made sense. So what should we do? Such a big western cake definitely cannot be lost to that kid. He wants to eat without working. No one is more greedy than this father and son. If we can't fight him in the open, then we'll fight him in the dark. It seemed like he had just thought of some kind of scheme. His sinister smile said it all. In the dark, the boy still did not understand what happened. That young man had only been in Shiyang City for less than a month. He must have a lot of things he didn't understand about Shiyang City. Then we'll take advantage of his weakness. Take his life. He began to explain this sinister plot to his son. Darkness enveloped the space. Crows flew all over the sky. The wind was lonely. The men had bronze bodies and iron skin. Tall and strong. One had a head like a hedgehog. Another had a head like grass. And one had a head the color of beetroot. I thought they were going to a fashion show. Whose name is that named Strong Biceps? Surrounded by iron armor. On the side hangs a small sword but with quite large stones. A ferocious army appeared from nowhere. The guy was as angry as if he was going to a boxing match. Are you all here? It turns out this is the plot of Carter and his father. Although they are small, they have a large and powerful army to serve their evil plot. They're all here. The boy smiled smugly. The smile was like he had 100% chance of winning. The old man's face became more and more sinister. How long has it been? The men said to each other. 1 day. 2 days. Or maybe 3 days. It's been a long time since we've killed someone. Disgusting sounds came out of each of their mouths. Evil smiles began to appear on their faces. Tonight, let's kill for fun. The old man showed his cruel and vicious face. Greed was evident in his personality. The sumptuous banquet was solemnly and beautifully arranged. The 5 of them, Lufeng, Mina, Ellie, Nyoban and Nicole, were having a meal. They ate steak together, raised their glasses, clinked glasses, chatted together, and ate happily. Today, when Nicole brought the crystal cup to Carter's face, it was so beautiful. It was passed down from me. Ha ha ha. Lu Feng said to everyone, looking very proud. Nicole's cheeks turned red when she was praised and she spoke softly. Young master. Ellie chewed and spoke. That's right, every day I stand behind him, helping the pig eat and drink. Ellie is really straightforward, although a little bit, but it's true. Ha ha. Mentioning Carter reminded Nicole of the incident, her eyes flashed with anger, but she still tried to act gentle. No way, that Carter guy is just bullying people too much. Nicole smiled on the outside but inside she was extremely angry. Dare to manipulate my brother Lu Feng, I absolutely will not agree. I absolutely did not respond. Lost in thought, anger made Nicole tremble, her hand holding the spoon was not steady, and she dropped it on the table. Everyone looked up at Nicole. The atmosphere became awkward. Mina, who was sitting opposite, saw this and thought to herself. What are you doing? You can't even hold a spoon. Lu Feng forced a smile and thought to himself. Wow, why did this girl suddenly have such a dark face? People say that's a red face, Lu Feng. Lu Feng took a piece of chicken leg and gave it to Nicole, breaking the tense atmosphere. Anyway, Nicole had done a great job today, so she was rewarded. Come, eat the chicken leg. Nicole shyly took the delicious chicken leg from Lu Feng's hand. Thank you, young master. Nicole's father, Uncle Nyoben spoke up for his daughter. Young master Lu Feng, don't take it to heart. Nicole would get nervous whenever she encountered something about the young master. Lu Feng burst out laughing. Ha ha ha. Nicole has solved a lot of problems for the city lord's mansion and helped me deal with a lot of trouble. How could I take it to heart? Nicole was shy again. Young master. Furthermore, Nicole is meticulous. She also cooks very well. Whoever she marries in the future will be very lucky. Lu Feng said as he patted Nicole's head. The graceful and ladylike Nicole was enthusiastically praised by young master Lu Feng and did not hesitate to show his affection for her, so at this moment, her emotions were rising like a volcano. How hateful. Mina sat here, hearing Lu Feng mention the word wife, suddenly felt sad. Wife, what? The knife in hand was about to cut the steak but suddenly the throat felt bitter and could not swallow. In his eyes, there was only Lu Feng's warm smile looking at Nicole shyly. Why so annoying? Mina stood up and put the knife down on the table. She hesitantly spoke. I'm full. Then Mina left, leaving those who stayed behind wondering. Nicole looked on in confusion. Ellie said calmly while chewing on a chicken thigh. Humph, someone so beautiful is still on a diet. Lu Feng looked at Mina's plate of food that was still on the table and started to speculate. Here, she hasn't even eaten the steak yet. Why are you leaving already? A little unlike her. Something is wrong, something is definitely wrong. Mina walked straight out to the castle balcony. The moon was shining brightly in the sky. She stood alone under the moon, deep in thought. Worried eyes. She wondered. Should she go to cooking school? Mina raised her hands to look at them. Suddenly she shook her head to forget that hateful thought. Damn it! What the hell is wrong with me? She took out a dagger in her hand, reminding herself. I am a warrior of the cat tribe, my hands only know how to kill people. What's wrong? I'm lost in thought. Lu Feng appeared and spoke, she was startled and hid the knife. Why are you here? Mina was confused. She doesn't even feel interested in delicious food anymore. I don't even care a little bit. Lu Feng replied. His expression was a little worried. Mina lowered her head in denial. No, she just didn't want to eat because she didn't have any appetite. Mina had always been a straightforward, strong girl. Now she was lying to herself. It was also possible that the indescribable emotions and jumbled thoughts in her heart made Mina really not want to eat. But in the end, it was all because of the Lord. The Lord of Taeduong City was racking his brain to find an explanation for Mina's strange behavior. You usually eat the most. Now you say you have no appetite. Are you fooling the devil? Thinking. Lu Feng suddenly understood something. It suddenly flashed through his mind. Lu Feng smiled mischievously. It's probably not because I complimented Nicole just now. He asked as if he had guessed something. The feeling right now was hard to describe. To be honest, Mina had been living with the young master for a long time. Fire near straw will eventually burn. It's not right to say there are no feelings. Because if there really were no feelings, why would she feel uncomfortable when he was gentle and intimate with another girl? But this feeling was hard to describe. It was not simply the loyalty of a beastman towards the city lord. Nor did it stop at ordinary affection. Mina cared for Lu Feng more than that, and perhaps Mina also felt some concern from Lu Feng. Mina fell silent. She didn't know how to answer Lu Feng's question. So Mina didn't answer. Lu Feng asked again. Did you get jealous? Eating vinegar? Is this indescribable feeling like eating vinegar? Am I eating vinegar? Mina asked herself. The space was dark and quiet. In the forest came the rustling sound of falling leaves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 men appeared from behind the dark woods. Each of them had a fierce look on their faces. Were they robbers? The one with purple hair, the biggest and most muscular one, was at the front. The bald, white-faced, fat one and the others followed. Outside the castle, guards were on patrol. Holding a blazing torch in his hand, a guard heard the sound of footsteps running past. The second person felt the same way. The guard turned his head. Did you hear? Before he could finish his sentence, a horrifying scene appeared before his eyes. His fellow guard had been killed by the strangers with a sword through his chest. It was the gang of thugs that appeared earlier. The guard was extremely frightened and terrified. He turned and ran away. An arrow flew through the night and pierced the guard's neck. He fell down and lay motionless. The robbers appeared on the first day of winter. Purple-haired guy ordered. Kill all the patrol soldiers. On the balcony of the castle, the couple Lu Feng and Mina were still chatting with each other. Lu Feng asked slyly, leaving Mina at a loss for words. Am I jealous? Mina recalls memorable moments with Lu Feng. The image of when I first met Lu Feng, and the times when we accidentally touched each other's bodies. Mina thinks she's jealous, maybe? Mina thought to herself and shook her head. Impossible. She told herself. Be smart, Mina. You two are not from the same world. Poor little kitten girl. Her mind wouldn't let her think about Lu Feng, but her heart wanted to do the opposite. Mina seemed to be in a very tense internal struggle. Lu Feng looked at her in confusion. What's wrong with her? I was just joking. Why be so honest? He suddenly said. It's not funny at all. Mina replied. Lu Feng didn't want things to get any more tense. He was joking. I always thought that our city lord was so handsome, anyone who saw him would fall in love. It seemed like the tense atmosphere had been resolved, but Mina suddenly confessed. Maybe so, but I'm not human. Mina's voice had a hint of sadness. This little cat girl loved her master Lu Feng, but the difference between their species prevented her from saying it. That feeling of jealousy was not without reason. Today, she decided to say it all. Mina continued. I am a beast man. Never before had a noble taken her as a wife. A slight hesitation, a look of sorrow in her eyes. Mina continued. Marrying a beast man as a wife. Lu Feng heard Mina say that and felt like the way was opened. He spoke up. What about beastmen? Mina was quite surprised by Lu Feng's answer. Beastmen are very good. As he spoke, Lu Feng moved closer, pressing Mina against the wall. This scene is very similar to romance movies. The next scene is probably Lu Feng leaning against the wall with one hand. The other hand lifts Mina's chin and prepares for a kiss. But that's a mistake, that's just a script in Korean dramas. Here Lu Feng leaned both hands on the wall, facing Mina. His eyes were filled with longing. I, on the contrary, wanted to marry a beast woman. This was no different from a confession. So all this time, it seemed like love was already there, but on the surface, he was still shy. Mina saw Lu Feng getting closer and closer and cried out. What are you doing? Lu Feng smiled mischievously. A look of love appeared on his handsome face. He spoke to Mina in a voice that was sweeter than ever. Guess what? Outside the forest, the night was dyed with blood. Foot stepped on pool of blood. Baron Carter and his son stood before his subordinates. Carter stroked his bushy mustache and ordered. Very good. Whoever brings Lu Feng's head back here will be rewarded with 20 gold coins. His subordinates knelt at his feet and eagerly obeyed his orders. Old Carter looked towards the castle, hatred rising in his heart. He said, Boy, angering the nobles is not fun. Here, inside the study of the Lord of Taeduong City, the candles were extinguished. Lu Feng brought Mina to the familiar bed. He laid her down, the two of them facing each other, their eyes looking at each other passionately. After so many months together, going through so much joy, sadness, hardship, and danger. Even though they didn't say it, each of them must have felt that their hearts wanted to say something. Over time, their love grew stronger and stronger, and now it can be considered as blossoming and bearing fruit. The two of them understood each other's hearts, and both wanted to bring each other to the shore of happiness. Their eyes looked at each other passionately, their hearts beating as one. Mina softly called. Young master. Mina, I want it. Lu Feng sweetly leaned close to Mina. Eyes closed, breaths almost mingling. Just a little more distance and lips will touch lips. Eyes met, Mina softly called. Young master, she had never been this close to him before. Mina, don't call me young master anymore. Lu Feng raised his head, reaching out to caress the face he had secretly loved for so long. Living in the same house, sometimes wanting to touch Mina is harder than reaching the sky. Today, both of them have admitted their feelings for each other. This private moment is free to express. This gaze, these lips, just a little bit more, will belong to Lu Feng. In the midst of the tension, the two were about to be together when suddenly there was an emergency alarm. Lord, it's over. A guard pushed open the door and ran in, still shouting loudly that there were enemies in ambush. Before he could finish his sentence, he witnessed something he shouldn't have seen, and his voice suddenly dropped. Something was wrong in the city. The scene now became extremely awkward. Lu Feng and Mina jumped up. Mina blushed with embarrassment. She just pushed Lu Feng away. I will lead the Wolf Warrior squad to deal with it. Saying that, Mina ran out of the room as fast as she could. The guard standing there could only blame himself. Oh my god, what happened? Did I come at the wrong time? I'm just a small soldier, I don't know anything. Well, it's okay if you don't know anything, but at least you should know how to knock before entering someone else's room. Is there no culture of knocking in this other world? Sitting on the bed, Lu Feng was still intoxicated by the aftertaste of love, he regretfully told himself. Just a little more. The guard thought the city lord was talking to him. He wanted to explain but didn't know what to say. That city lord. Lu Feng looked up and saw that the guard was still standing there, dumbfounded. Their eyes met for a moment. Suddenly, Lu Feng remembered the reason why he was here. As if returning to reality, Lu Feng shouted at the guard. What are you waiting for? Go tell Niu Ban. Yes, the soldier hurriedly ran away. Inside the forest, the night was pitch black, with only the dim moonlight to guide the way. A group of enemies were trying to break into the castle to take Lu Feng's head back to Carter. They called out to each other, hurry up, don't let the captain get everything. Looks like they're trying to make a big achievement. The enemies were chatting as they walked. I heard that there's a female beastman in the city lord's mansion. A black-haired guy said to the blonde guy walking behind. Female beastman? I heard female beastmen are very wild, ha ha. The blonde said, the wilder the better. A brown-haired guy in the lead chimed in. The guys behind burst out laughing. They were talking about Mina with vulgar words when the first brown-haired guy who was walking suddenly stopped. The underlings continued to joke. What's wrong, boss, you want a female beastman? Then the brown-haired guy only had time to groan. An arrow pierced his heart. He fell dead. The black-haired man behind saw his boss suddenly hit by an arrow, so he quickly drew his sword and shouted, be careful. Before he finished speaking, he turned around and saw the blonde guy behind him, only able to hug his neck and collapse. His blood splattered all over the black-haired man's face. At this moment, the black-haired man was extremely scared and confused. I don't know what force is lurking here that is so cruel. He turned his head to look around, his sword slashing wildly in all directions. His mouth stammered, who, come out. He swung his sword wildly through the air, shouting as he slashed. Come out. His face was so pitiful at this moment. Then suddenly, that black shadow appeared and flashed before his eyes. He only had time to see the cat ears, and then he went to see his ancestors. Filthy mongrel, Mina said coldly. In another passage, the enemies were running through the night. Darkness covered the forest, the air was extremely quiet. Only the chirping of insects and the rustling of footsteps could be heard. Under the dim moonlight, the canopy of the forest trees hung down, casting strange shapes on the ground. There was a commotion, the birds in the nest flew away, some feathers still hanging in the air. The captain raised his hand to signal. Stop, he said. Then everyone stopped to watch. The captain shouted. Something was wrong. Everyone got ready. They drew their swords, stared into the darkness, and strained their ears to listen for any movement. At this moment, the space was eerily quiet. They had good senses, especially the captain. He had smelled danger and warned his teammates. Indeed, they were in Mina's sights. Still no movement, but it seemed they were still on high alert. At this point, Mina decided to take action. The sharp tip of the knife shot down from above aimed at the captain, but he was no pushover. He defended quite well, he turned around and dodged Mina's knife. The tip of the knife was stuck into the ground, then suddenly he swung his sword up and slashed hard at the knife that had just been thrown. Clank clank clank, Mina raised her knife to block the sword from the captain, jumping back. As expected of a great cat warrior, extremely sharp. The new captain was pleased to see Mina. He smiled wickedly, finally appearing. Mina remained on the defensive. Everything became quiet again, only the sound of the wind blowing through the rustling leaves. The captain pointed at Mina and gave an order. Whoever takes this woman's head will be rewarded with 10 gold coins. It seems he really underestimates women. Mina spoke up. Just relying on you, trash. The beautiful kitten girl with crystal clear eyes gave them a contemptuous look. The subordinates received orders from the captain and charged forward with their swords. They shouted in unison. Kill! Suddenly there was the sound of clopping, rustling shoes. No one was seen. Only the sound of swords slashing the air was heard. The long-haired man had been hit by a long sword strike from behind. He fell to the ground. Their comrades gasped in surprise. A guy in combat gear appeared. He stood up and introduced himself. Wolf Warrior Squad, Tancock is honored. The enemy soldiers only had time to say to each other, It's ambush. They were confused and bewildered. They couldn't react in time and just stood there looking at each other. Under the sudden appearance of the Wolf Warrior Squad that Mina led, ambush warriors rushed from the nooks and crannies of the forest. Low slash at enemy. In the blink of an eye, Carter's men were lying all over the place. Dead like ants. Only the captain remained standing there, petrified. Mina stepped forward and held the sharp blade in front of the captain. She spoke. Any last words? He looked at Mina for a moment and then suddenly smirked. In the quiet space, his laughter grew louder, echoing throughout the forest. Ha ha, ha 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 ha. Mina felt confused. What the hell is he laughing about when he's about to die? He spoke now. It was just as Lord Carter had said. He was truly an idiot. He calmly stood there insulting Mina. Then he continued. Your master must have been taken care of by Lord Carter by now. Or should I be your new master? He finished speaking and then burst out laughing in a vulgar manner. Mina was extremely confused when she heard that. Without hesitation, she turned around and ran quickly towards the castle. Oh no, the young master was in danger. The girl rushed away into the dark night. Suddenly the grass flashed. Flying over Mina's head, it fell onto the burning road. Whoosh, boom. At Mina's feet were spilled kerosene stains that were burning fiercely from the rocket that had just been fired. The raging flames surrounding Mina forced her to stop. Cats are afraid of fire. Mina was trapped in the fire today. She must be very scared. The captain continued to shoot the second rocket arrow towards Mina. He was smiling smugly. He. It was too late. The sound of footsteps on the floor echoed throughout the room. Lu Feng and Ellie sat around the table. Nicole's footsteps were pacing back and forth. Her hands were clenched together. She was worried. What if they break into the city? Ellie calmly replied while eating candy. Don't worry, Mina has already sent the wolf squad to deal with it. Uncle Nyoban is also protecting us, they won't be able to get in. It seems that this little girl Ellie is always very calm about everything. But Lu Feng spoke up again. No, according to his understanding of Carter, there was another possibility. Lu Feng said mysteriously. Underground tunnel. Suddenly Ellie's fox ears perked up. She heard something. Ha, there are footsteps of many people under the city wall. She said to Lu Feng. Lu Feng still had the same expression. His hands were clasped together, and he smiled mysteriously. Sure enough, he arrived quickly. He stood up and ordered Ellie. Ellie, go inform the Ox Knight. Yes. Ellie quickly replied and quickly left the room. In this large room, only Nicole and Lu Feng remained. The girl walked towards Lu Feng in confusion. Her fingers lightly touched his hand. She softly said. Young master, what about me? Lu Feng generously said to her. Don't worry, just follow me. Nicole was shy, leaning her head on Lu Feng's shoulder. This city lord is really a playboy. Squeak, squeak. The rats in the tunnel were trampled to death mercilessly by Carter's troops led by himself. Father is wise. Fez spoke. That brat Lu Feng definitely didn't expect that this castle actually had a secret passage leading inside. Fez said smugly. This time he was dead for sure. Baron Carter affirmed firmly. Suddenly, crackle. He stepped on a brick that was deliberately left loose. He was surprised. This was it. Suddenly an arrow whizzed past Carter's face. It hit the wall. Carter and his father were both surprised and confused. There was a trap. That smart guy even set one. Fez. He screamed. Father, what now? Fez was like a young horse eager to fight. He was only good at talking big, but he called himself father at the slightest thing. People said it. Smart does not come to the young, strong does not come to the old. Old man Carter was like a fox that had been around for a long time. He always had a way to deal with unfavorable situations. With his vast experience and his ability to be cunning, Carter was silent for a while before speaking. It seems that Lu Feng already knew about this secret path. Moreover, he did not block the secret path, but only designed a small trap. He clearly underestimated us. Carter said. His eyes glared angrily. But he still had a solution to this situation. Father, Fez looked at the 3 soldiers on the floor. Speak up. Lord Carter. These soldiers were tied up and sitting back to back. They didn't understand what was going to happen. They could only call for help. He looked at them with a cold expression and gave an order. Pull them over. Block the arrows with your shield. The evil old man captured 3 of his subordinates. Tied them together as shields. Moved them along the path to block arrows. Cleared the way for them. The subordinates could only cry in despair. Hoo-hoo. 2 soldiers pushed 3 tied-up men onto the road. They struggled, shook their heads, and cried. No, no. Their footsteps stepped on the pile of bricks that activated the formation that Lu Feng had already arranged. Hundreds of arrows shot out from the holes in the wall. Stabbed all over the 3 tied people. Old man Carter came in second without any pity. His son, Fez, was more timid. He swallowed fearfully. The subordinates behind also turned pale with fear. Carter shouted orders. Continue moving forward. After finishing the secret passage, they kicked the door open and entered the castle. The door came crashing down. Opens an empty room. Old Carter waved his hand and ordered, search for me. Yes. Then his subordinates rushed to search. Lu Feng and Nicole were hiding behind the closet door. Lu Feng was listening to every little movement. He thought to himself. Let me see, what the hell are you guys planning to do? Nicole was now nestled close to Lu Feng's chest. The girl wasn't worried at all, only feeling her heart flutter. This is the young master's reverse cage, so warm. Thump thump. Suddenly there were footsteps approaching. One of Carter's subordinates was standing in front of the closed cabinet where Lu Feng and Nicole were hiding. The footsteps stopped in front of the closed cupboard door. Inside, Nicole was hugging Lu Feng tightly. Lu Feng also put his arm around her, helping the girl stay calm and no longer afraid. There was a hissing sound outside. Lu Feng's arm held Nicole tighter. The subordinate raised his hand to open the cabinet door when a voice called out. Come here quickly, there is a noise at the window. The subordinate turned around, then he let go of his hand and left following the call of his comrades. What did you find? They said. Inside the cabinet, Nicole and Lu Feng were temporarily out of danger. Nicole sighed. Phew, she thought, this was dangerous. But no, click, the door opened wide under the hand of the subordinate. Nicole panicked. He smiled arrogantly. It was indeed here. Then he swung his sword. 20 gold coins are mine. Slap, ugh. You think it's easy to get 20 gold coins? He was kicked in the chest by Lu Feng and fell flat on his face, blood coming out of his mouth. The sword in his hand fell to the ground. Clang. He struggled to get up. Lu Feng stood up, walked forward, and teased. Hee hee, I didn't expect to find out so quickly. This is really not fun. Lu Feng extended his arm to protect Nicole. Nicole, wait there. Don't move. Nicole is touched. Young master. Lu Feng closed his eyes and clenched his fists. He felt the strength in his body spread to every vein. Lu Feng has experienced many such transmigration enhancements. Currently, speed and strength are far beyond ordinary people. Lu Feng thought, it's time to show off. He quickly glanced past Carter and his men. Lu Feng. Carter looked up in surprise. Lu Feng spoke up at this moment. If I don't beat you guys, I won't know how powerful I am. He said, his eyes sharp. Old man Carter waved his hand, ordering his subordinates. Let me see how long you can keep talking big. Come up for me. Lu Feng's face was now stern. He snorted and stood in a defensive stance, waiting for them to charge. The first blonde man rushed in and swung his sword. Lu Feng was unable to dodge it with his bare hands. The sword slashed past, then he raised his hand and punched the blonde man in the face. Bang! The powerful fist landed on his jaw so hard that it felt like it was going to break. He cried out in pain. Man? It hurts. Mama. Carter and his son Fez were surprised to see the Lord of the Western City take action. And Nicole on this side is extremely admiring and grateful. Her eyes were filled with love. Wow, the young master is so amazing. In Nicole's eyes at this moment, Lu Feng was like a hero, not only handsome and stylish but also extremely capable and strong. Suddenly two enemies rushed in and tried to stab her from behind. Nicole panicked. Young master. Be careful. Lu Feng glanced out of the corner of his eye. Fast as lightning. He jumped high. The enemy's two swords slashed hard on the floor. Sparks flew. Missed. The two men turned back and saw Lu Feng swooping down from above. Concentrate internal energy into the palm of the hand. 5 fingers clenched tightly. The force of the attack from the 5 fingertips pressed straight into the brown-haired man's chest. Pop made his mouth spit blood. Then used his hand to push him away. The blonde stood there looking surprised. Before he could even prepare to attack, there was a whoosh. As fast as the wind. Lu Feng sent him falling to the ground before he could even understand what had happened. So in just a blink of an eye, City Lord Lu Feng had defeated 2 of Old Man Carter's subordinates with his bare hands. Now he began to feel confused. His tone was no longer the same as before. Old Man Carter stammered. Everyone rushed forward. They said in unison. Then, all they heard was a thump. Thump. Ugh. Carter's men had been taken down by the Lord of the Western City. Only the Carter family, father and son, remained. Ha ha. Lu Feng laughed at the failure of the unpleasant old baron. You guys are too weak. Old Man Carter's son said in a trembling voice. Lu Feng, he is naturally so formidable. Run. Run fast. Father and son ran for their lives. But it's not that easy. Must chase. Old thief Carter. Don't run. Come here and fight me for 300 rounds. Lu Feng is funny. He ran away in 1 round and yet he wants to fight for 300 rounds. Nicole, come with me. Beat these bad guys. Lu Feng turned around and called Nicole to follow. Niu Ban's beloved daughter was delighted. Yes. Young master. Lu Feng and Nicole chased Carter and his father into the forest outside the castle. While chasing Lu Feng, he shouted loudly. Dog thief. Where are you going? The evil old man Carter ran away without his subordinates by his side. But he could not get rid of his big mouth. He still turned his head and said, Lu Feng. You wait there for me. Nicole was weak and frail. She ran after Lu Feng until she was out of breath. She ran and panted as she called out. Young master. Wait for me. Carter and his son finally made it to the fire in the forest. It was where the remaining subordinates were beaten to a pulp by the wolf warrior army. Then they set fire to prevent Mina from returning to the castle. The captain saw Old Man Carter and quickly ran to report. My lord. That female beastman has been controlled by us. Carter was delighted. Really? Looking through the fire barrier. Seeing them smug. Mina was extremely angry. She gritted her teeth and endured. How hateful. Young master. Nothing must happen. At this moment, old Carter played a cat and mouse game again. He approached Mina, though they were still separated by the fire barrier. Oh dear? Kitten. I thought you were very formidable. So you're afraid of fire? Mina. Suddenly there was a call from afar. Lu Feng has arrived. Seeing Lu Feng, Mina was overjoyed. Young master. It was quick, Carter said. Lu Feng faced Carter and asked. Carter, do you want to kill the city guard? The answer to Lu Feng's question was the question from Old Man Carter but also implicitly confirmed the declaration of war. Kid, you want to fight me alone? Lu Feng exposed him now. You were in such a hurry to capture the city, didn't those who came on horseback lose both people and money? Old Man Carter laughed loudly after hearing Lu Feng's words. Ah ha 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 ha. Young man, let me make this clear. The horsemen who came were actually knights sent by Lord Homa. It seemed that he had also decided to play his cards face up with Lu Feng. Lu Feng recognized them as pirates, he replied. So that's how it is. How despicable. Anger rose in his heart. Lu Feng shouted loudly. People like you. Not a single one will be spared. Lu Feng rushed into the fire. He was about to save Mina when the fire broke out and burned him. Both Mina and Nicole called out worriedly. "Young master." Old man Carter saw this and started to mock. "For a beast man. Worth it. Oh, that hurts. Damn it. I have to think of a way to save Mina first." Lu Feng thought to himself. Through the firewall. Mina looked at Lu Feng. Her eyes were worried and sad. "That's right." Lu Feng suddenly spoke up. "Should have thought of that sooner." Lu Feng withdrew his hand and reached out to circulate his internal energy. Infiltrate the inner space. A place only he can see. Search for a moment. After a while, Lu Feng took out a fire extinguisher. Old man Carter's eyes widened in surprise. What was that? Click. Lu Feng unlocked the bottle. The gas in the fire extinguisher is released. Hiss hiss. Lu Feng pointed the fire extinguisher at the fire. In just a moment, the fire barrier between Mina and Lu Feng was extinguished. What a high-tech world. Will Lu Feng show off his homeland's treasure this time? Carter's group opened their mouths in amazement when they saw the scene above. Even the Wolf Warrior squad of Xiang City was equally surprised. All in unison. What happened? Fire. The fire was out. Lu Feng had finished putting out the fire and put the fire extinguisher on the ground. He breathed a sigh of relief. Mina couldn't help but feel moved when she saw Lu Feng on the other side. She was in tears. She ran towards Lu Feng and hugged him tightly. Although he was a little surprised, Lu Feng still showed concern. He raised his hand to stroke Mina's hair and asked, "How is it? Are you hurt?" Mina was so strong and resilient. Now she was weak in front of her lover. She choked with tears. "I'm fine. I'm sorry. I couldn't stop them. I let everyone in the city fall into an ambush." Witnessing Lu Feng and Mina hugging each other affectionately, Nicole's eyes were also filled with tears. In my mind. They. Old man Carter was not used to watching romantic movies, so while Lu Feng was busy coaxing Mina, he raised his bow and pointed forward. "Go die," he said. Nicole saw this and shouted in panic. "Young master." Lu Feng glanced. Bam. What? Carter looked on in disbelief. Lu Feng grabbed the old man's arrow with one hand. Face full of murderous intent. Walk straight to where old man Carter is standing. Kill him for me. He gave the order. Lu Feng jumped high. With just his bare hands, he knocked out two of Carter's subordinates. Fall to the ground. Lu Feng held the arrow close to the neck of the damned old man Carter. Dog thief. Still playing ambush. Lu Feng's eyes at this moment seemed to not want to be more lenient. The arrow in Lu Feng's hand was getting closer and closer to Carter's neck. Only about a centimeter away from his throat. He trembled. Sweated. Eyes widened in terror. The captain of his men saw that Carter was being threatened and tried to approach. But Carter ordered him to stop. Back off. The subordinate thought that Lu Feng did not dare to make a move. He hesitated and did not retreat. Lu Feng thought to himself. Don't believe it. Don't be lenient. He pushed the arrow a little deeper. The sharp arrow cut a wound into Carter's neck. Blood oozed from the wound. Old man Carter was really worried now. He stood still. Fearfully he gave orders. All back off. The subordinates now had swords in their hands. Just as he was about to obey the order to retreat, there was a sudden loud shout. Don't retreat. Carter's son, Fez, stood behind and gave orders to his subordinates. Idiot. You want me dead? Carter shouted. If that's the case, then do it. Fez said coldly. Lu Feng looked at him in surprise. He was Carter's son. When his father was in danger, he not only did not think of a way to save him but also wanted to rebel. What? Rebellious son. Who are you? Carter said. He was extremely surprised by what was happening. Father. After you are killed, I will avenge you. Fez crossed his arms and said with a sinister look. Carter was speechless before his rebellious son. You. Lu Feng witnessed the scene of father and son killing each other. He said. It seems that this guy is even more vicious. You two, father and son, are truly invincible. Fez ordered his subordinates. Whoever gets Lu Feng's head will be rewarded with 50 gold coins. What should we do now? The subordinates asked each other in confusion. They were conflicted between Carter's orders and Fez's. All you need is money. Aren't they all the same? They whispered to each other. One of them said, "Come up here." Carter was stunned by his reactionary subordinates. "You dare not obey orders." A subordinate's sword slashed away the arrow pointed at Carter's neck, causing the arrow to cut a gash across his neck. Blood began to flow. He fell to the ground. Lu Feng swung his leg and kicked his subordinate hard. He turned pale and fell face down on the ground. The two men behind charged together. But the swords slashed through the air. "The movement is too slow," Lu Feng said to them. "Suddenly felt a chill down my spine. Why does it feel like danger is behind my back?" Lu Feng reflexively dodged. He dodged to the side. The attacker stabbed up and missed. He swung his sword across Lu Feng's body, but Lu Feng dodged it this time. He thought to himself. Hallucination? No, not a hallucination. The brain detecting a warning. I know. It's because of time travel. At the same time, my brain is optimized. My brain is developed. This time suddenly gave me the ability to predict danger. Lu Feng raised his hand and punched the enemy, causing him to be shot into the air. Fall to the ground. The Lord of Taeduong City used his hand to hit hard again. The force emitted from him knocked his subordinates away. They fell to the ground one by one. Nina stood outside and watched. She never expected that Lu Feng, who she had been escorting for so long, would have such great martial arts skills. The girl thought to herself. Young master. Has he become so formidable? The enemy army was completely defeated. Lu Feng asked loudly. Who else? He looked majestic and imposing like a general. At this moment, lightning bolts that looked like small thunderbolts appeared, rising around Lu Feng's body. The energy emitted from his body became stronger and stronger, causing the other three to not dare to come near. They held out their weapons to guard against Lu Feng. But with each step they retreated. Here. Here. The red-robed, white-haired man began to tremble in fear. The voice was trembling and mumbling. Just now he was still strong-mouthed, but now he was like a tiger entering its den. The tall and strong guy was so scared that he knelt down and started to retreat. You trash, go ahead. This boss slapped two of his subordinates and ordered them to charge forward and fight. Yes, sir. They obediently listened and charged forward. The subordinate then rushed forward step by step very quickly, holding the sword firmly in his hand. His mouth was bitter. He charged straight towards Lu Feng. Lu Feng sneered. A sinister laugh that foreshadowed something bad was about to happen to that guy. And sure enough, an arrow flew straight towards him from somewhere. Lu Feng suddenly dodged to the side, causing the arrow to hit his subordinate straight on. Blood flowed all over his chest. His hand let go of the sword and he was unable to do anything. Finally here. This little girl. So it was the blonde girl who fought for him. Hey, I've brought reinforcements. As she spoke, she waved to Lu Feng. The crowd gradually became more and more frightened. They did not expect that reinforcements would arrive. The white-haired man's subordinates had all fallen, leaving only a few remaining. Now, with only a few people protecting him, how could he fight against that swarm of people? Capturing them all, the commander charged forward with his spear and gave orders to his troops. His voice was filled with courage and spirit. The soldiers really started to fight. They used Lu Feng's new weapon to shoot. All the practice was worth it and now it was put into practice. The man in white was startled and scared. Sweat covered his entire body. So did the two other big soldiers. They were also trembling in fear of the thousands of arrows flying towards them. Such a big man was afraid of these tiny arrows. Such a long distance. How could it be possible? The white-haired man could not have expected that at such a long distance, this arrow could shoot so far. The sound of thousands of arrows is so pleasant to the ears. In the end, the other two couldn't avoid it either. They were pierced by arrows everywhere. The sword fell. The white-haired man was so scared that he couldn't hold anything. Quick! Quick retreat! He opened his eyes wide and turned to his subordinates. Then he ran straight into the forest without hesitation. Wait! I'm still here. What a dutiful son, seeing a strong enemy, he ran away. He only knew how to hug himself and run, leaving his old father behind. Chase them down for me. Don't let them escape. Understood, Lord Nyoben. Everyone began to search for traces of those three. Lu Feng took Mina's hand at this moment. His face asked Han with concern. Mina. It's okay. It's like a prince rescuing a sleeping beauty. Let me see if you're hurt. It seems like you're still feeling uneasy. It's understandable that you'd panic after something like that. Terrible to the world but gentle to me. You underestimate the cat warriors too much. Mina replied shyly. Her cheeks turned red. Hey, is everyone okay? Luckily, I got there in time. I've only seen people disrupting things, not any bad luck. So the blonde girl just ruined the romance. She was still smug. Luckily, I arrived just in time. Her innocence left the other two speechless. I heard that Carter was injured by his man. Haha, he deserved it. Talking and laughing. The hurt person wants to hurt others. Carter. Both of them were struck by lightning. Only then did they realize something was unusual. Disappear. Run fast. I will not give it to you. Mina must hate them very much. She said, her hand tightening on the knife. A warrior with will. Full of competitiveness. Carter's breathing was labored. He ran, clutching his bleeding wound. Staggering steps. Red drops of blood. He ran deeper and deeper into the forest. Not knowing where he was going. As he was walking, he heard a noise coming towards him. Could it be that he had been caught up with? Who? Who was there? He turned to the bush and asked, "Don't kill me. Don't kill me." It turned out to be his incompetent son hiding in the bush. Only then did he realize. He opened his eyes and looked at his father. Ha ha. Who did I think it was? It turns out it's my filial son. He burst out laughing. He stared at his son. I thought it would know its mistake and help him back. But it lunged at him and hit him, making him fall backwards. Go away. Immortal. It screamed again. Then ran away, ignoring its father who was standing there holding his wound. He gasped for breath. But a knife pierced his heart. The pain was both mental and physical. Okay. What a filial son. But, with that brain of yours, you think without me, you can escape from here? He spoke loudly, making his son seem enlightened. It started to stall. His voice trembled as he turned back. Hurry up. I was the fastest. If it weren't for you. Stop talking nonsense. They'll catch up now. He finally turned around to help his sick old father. Escaped death's door. Don't worry. A terrifying sound startled the father and son. Both of them started to panic. The sound was familiar but became terrifying to them. Mina appeared like a nine-tailed fox. Standing on the rock, she said, because you all must die. Her resolute assertion spoke volumes about her strength. Both father and son looked up. Seeing Mina, both of them were startled. It's her. It's her. The father and daughter's voices trembled when they saw her. They were the ones who used to bully her, but now they were weak and scared. We meet again. She looked at them and said. Her eyes looked contemptuous as if she wanted to eat them alive. They looked like good fairies doing evil deeds. You. What do you want to do? The boy screamed in terror. Afraid of being beaten up by the beauty. This sentence sounds so familiar. Her voice started to change, remembering the past. I told you. Starve yourself for a few days and you'll listen right away. Before his eyes was the image of Mina chained up in a dark room. Her appearance was miserable. After hearing the words echoing outside the room, her eyes widened in fear. She looked toward the door. Before her eyes appeared the image of the damned father and son. The old man held a whip like a circus trainer. Both father and son had vicious expressions on their faces. What do you want to do? She asked worriedly. Only then did they smile despicably. Their lustful eyes stared at her. The more she thought about it, the angrier she got. The calmness in her heart exploded more and more. She held the knife tightly in her hand and jumped up in one go. She landed very skillfully. The murderous aura around her grew stronger, causing the father and son to step back. Their faces changed color. No longer the evil look of the past. Young master is right. People like you are the type that bullies the weak and acts like dogs when you meet the strong. She started to mock them. You can't kill me. I'll give you Kim coins. I have Lord Homa backing me up. You guys are becoming more and more shameless. Even when you see death, you still try to show off. You guys aren't worth my young master's attention. The cat girl's eyes were sharp. The eyes of a killer. Without saying much, she directly rushed forward and made a basic line for each person, making the father and son stand still, like passive chemical reactions with each other. Mina took action. This was a new achievement for her. The small stature of a catwoman was already quite a feat. She turned back to look at the group of people she had just destroyed. Finally, it was over. The father and son were already lying down. Their eyes were wide open as if they still had some doubts. Another death in the forest. She not only helped the city lord destroy the trash, but also helped the reader release the resentment and anger of the past few days. No matter what happens, the moon still shines in the dark. The world is mysterious. The quiet space still covers the scene. The full moon is like the lover of soldiers in the past. That prison is like this dark night. And young master, it is the moonlight that illuminates it. She remembered her past self, thinking she would be humiliated and lonely, but thanks to Lu Feng, she was able to continue living. Looking at the moonlight, a hope was gradually nourishing her soul. Entering the deep forest again to find the way back. Young master, Mina is back. She returned to the magnificent palace after completing her mission. She stood in front of the door, hesitating to open it, as if thinking about something. It was so late, he must be asleep. It turned out she was wondering whether to knock on the door or not for fear of disturbing the young master's sleep. Deciding to push the door open, her small hand pushed gently, her sparkling eyes opened wide. "You're back." She didn't expect that the young master was still waiting for her. He was still reading the book with the old man sleeping. It must be thanks to this knowledge that he was able to attract so many girls. Lu Feng stood up and asked her kindly, "Are you hungry?" What a refined man, both kind and lovable. "I've prepared your favorite food for you." He pointed to the table where a bowl of hot food had been prepared for her. Yes, her timid hand reached behind, obediently listening to the young master's words. She sat down to eat the hot bowl of porridge, eating each bite. Lu Feng sat next to her and kept watching her eat each bite. He must have been craving for it and not wanting to see how she looked while eating. It seems she recognized some special taste in the porridge. A few grains of rice were still stuck to her mouth, her pretty little mouth was shy. "I thought Nicole cooked it, my cooking skills have improved." Lu Feng scratched his head in embarrassment and laughed out loud. He started to be proud of his cooking skills. Mina shyly nodded, but her face turned red, her shyness was obvious, and she finished the bowl of porridge in one go. What a womanizer, no matter what kind of cat she is, she must be obedient in front of the young master. "Eat slowly, no one is taking it from you." He quickly stroked her head, making her blush even more, making her even happier. If he kept doing this all day, she would probably fall over, her indescribable love for men. Lu Feng looked at her and breathed a sigh of relief, which made her curiously glance towards him. Look at her eating, her mouth is full. Lu Feng reached out to wipe her, but she dodged him. She leaned back and turned her face away. I wiped myself." She became more and more confused and clumsy, the space gradually became awkward, both of us started to blush, each turned to one side. "Mina." Lu Feng blushed and shyly called her name, she also obediently responded, "Young master," then both of them fell into deep thought again. Lu Feng's eyes began to widen, before him was an extremely charming girl, she was gently leaning towards him. The closer the distance between the two people, the more confused he became. Those lips were moving closer to him. Almost there, almost there, almost there. Lu Feng's heart was pounding, pounding, pounding. This guy was getting more and more shaken, seemingly about to lose control. Lips almost touched lips. "Young master," Nyoban shouted loudly, his arms opened the door. The man was petrified, the scene before him was so embarrassing, oh my, so embarrassing. The scene was so boring, Lu Feng's arm had already been around Mina's shoulder. Nyoban stared in surprise, not knowing what to say. The young master and Mina were confused, Mina was startled, and Lu Feng was angry and regretful. Just a little more. His mood shook the entire palace. In the middle of the large room, there were only 3 people, but countless emotions and moods intertwined with each other. Both of them looked towards Nyoban, this was the reason for interrupting their important matter. He began to sweat profusely. He blushed as if he wanted to find a hole to hide in, so he quickly dodged away. "I'll be back later." As he spoke, he used both arms to close the door. Wait a moment." Seeing that he had something urgent to call him, Lu Feng let him stay and ask. "Uncle Nyo, what brings you here so late?" "Yes, it's about Carter." "Carter?" Lu Feng began to pay more attention, worried. "Carter died, Homa must have made a move." He began to explain to Lu Feng about the current situation. With that said, he began to rest his chin in his hands, deep in thought. "But we are not yet ready to face Homa." The sentence startled Mina. Young master, it was all my fault. She panicked and turned to Lu Feng to admit her guilt. Don't worry, I have a way. Without letting you worry, I'll immediately help you out. Early the next morning, the sun was still shining brightly. Quickly, a man raised his whip high and lashed at the villagers. Urging and miserable cries mixed together. A bunch of animals, if they don't finish their work, they won't get any food. They said as they threatened the beastmen who were doing hard labor for them. Everyone had to carry heavy bags on their shoulders. Yet they still bullied and beat them. Everyone became hateful, gnashing their teeth at those soldiers. They are trying to endure to keep their lives. At Litma Citadel, where the palace flag flutters, people are carrying goods through the city gate. From afar, watching the people was a person with long hair like a princess. She was sitting on the back of a horse. Looking at each scene, each person was carrying bags on their backs, on their shoulders, heavily walking into the gate. Looks like this year's harvest is not bad, we can return to the capital very soon. It turned out that the owner of the long blonde hair was a young man with a handsome face, but still exuded cruelty. You can't judge a book by its cover. Why would the owner of such long hair be a man? Lord Homa, there is news from Xiang City. A subordinate ran towards you, holding a notice in his hand. Dear Homa-sama, the content of the letter seems quite long, but I don't understand anything when I read it again. Lord Homa laughed happily. How tasteless. The western city is back in Carter's hands, so Lu Feng is just like that. He started to mock Lu Feng, saying that, and then his hand crumpled the notice. Good, now there is no one to stop me anymore. My order is ready. Target is Bac Fong City. He began to order his subordinates to prepare for the next target. Okay, this time I will definitely bring a lot of gold coins back to the royal capital. His greedy face appeared again, his evil smile preparing for a fierce battle. Let that boss who looks down on me see. In the end, who is better? He looked again at the green mountains and forests, the poetic nature. Lord Homa, another guy ran to report. The subordinate knelt down and said, just now the beastmen rioted. While suppressing them, a few beastmen ran away. His stern gaze looked towards his subordinate who was pondering for a moment. Disobedient thing. His eyebrows furrowed. Hunt and kill. He had ordered the escapees killed. Weak legs, bare feet were trying to run as fast as possible. The 6 beastmen had decided to escape. They were all trying to run forward even though they didn't know the way, but they knew that as long as they ran forward without retreating, they wouldn't be caught. Beastman Via, wearing a short shirt that was torn everywhere, she had cute little rabbit ears. The more she ran, the more she breathed heavily. Oh no, they are coming. Behind them were several soldiers wearing sturdy armor, holding large knives and hammers in their hands, running towards the beastmen. The distance between them was getting closer and closer, so everyone quickly ran away. The white-haired man told everyone to run, but he stayed behind to stop them. As soon as he finished speaking, a soldier with a knife rushed past and slashed him across the back. Blood splattered everywhere, and he fell to the ground. Everyone ran and turned to look at him. Although they were very worried and wanted to save him, they had to run to ensure their own lives. Stupid beastmen, a soldier cursed them. Lord Homa said, disobedient thing, an unforgiving archer. He said with a smug expression, laughing as he licked the blood-stained sword. Then the remaining men began to rush forward and slash each person one by one, in a brutal and savage manner. The scene before his eyes made the weak, terrified little rabbit collapse. These 2 people kept running. This soldier was about to slash when he was stopped. The blonde man now used his body to block the evil man and said, run, Via. He risked his life to let her escape. Her face was now in panic, her tears had been flowing without her knowing. Run south, live on. Everyone started talking loudly, which woke her up. Then she used all her courage and strength to run step by step. Running to the south, the message kept appearing in her mind. As she walked, she shed tears at the sacrifice of her comrades. Continue to live. No, continue to run to save lives, to fulfill everyone's words. The night scene was late, the space was dim, the red moon was waning. In the middle of the yellow fields, Via continued to run. She kept muttering, south, south. The more she talked, the more she continued to run, because that was where everyone was leading her. Out of nowhere an arrow flew towards her, leaving her no time to react. As soon as she turned around, the arrow was already flying straight towards her. We just shot them. They are indeed beastmen, probably escaped from Lima City. These 2 went hunting at night and brought them to another city to sell. As soon as they shot her, they started preparing to sell her. Money falls from the sky, only an idiot wouldn't take it. The purple-haired guy with buck teeth was constantly happy because he just got a big piece of bait. The sun shone directly on Via's face. She slowly opened her eyes, her face was pale and haggard. Where was this? She slowly sat up, looking around at the ripe rice fields, similar to the forest she escaped from yesterday. Hey, up ahead is Taeduong City. Don't worry, I've heard, there's a place nearby that sells beastmen. The two hunters talked as they rode their horses, preparing to find a place to sell them for money. They locked her in a cage as if she were an item. "Let's take a detour," the fat man suggested. "Fine." "Oh no, I've fallen into the hands of slave traders." Via never expected to end up in this situation after being shot. Having just escaped slavery, she was now about to become a commodity for traffickers. Now she felt like she was falling apart completely. Via, don't cry. Going south, she began to recall memories, remember her relatives, the words of advice from everyone, the place with gentle smiles, with people sacrificing for her. Continue living, the strongest thought in her mind arose, she must escape, she cannot be sold to the nobles again. After saying that, she wiped away the last of her tears, her two hands grabbed the two wooden bars, preparing to find a way out. Taking a detour will take half a day, so let's speed up and get there quickly before it gets dark. The two of them continued talking without paying any attention to Via. While they were driving, their carriage hit a rock, causing the carriage to wobble. "Hey, what's going on?" Both of them didn't know what happened, causing the whole piece of watermelon to fly up high and fall to the ground. Then, horses became horses, people became people, cages became cages, everything became disjointed and chaotic. Via fell out of control, she was in pain, but luckily, two wooden bars broke, creating a hole that she could crawl through. The opportunity has come, this is like a hope opening up for her. The ants quickly came and ate most of the watermelon, but the two of them still didn't bother to get up, they were still standing there arguing. "Are you guys blind? You can't even see such a big rock." "Wait, where's the line?" They finally realized the biggest problem now, looking around. There, they saw Via running. "Oh no, there is the border of Taeduong City." Saying that, they shouted to quickly chase and catch it, "Don't let the prey get to your hands and you'll lose it." Having said that, they began to take up their weapons and charged forward. "Where is it? Where did it run?" A pregnant woman with an injury definitely couldn't have run far. Just saw her and now she's lost track. Both of them stopped and looked around. Via sat trembling, hugging her body. The more she thought about it, the more she trembled, afraid that if they caught her, she would be sold to the nobles again. The other two continued to search. "Hey, there's blood over here." She was startled, scared, trembling, her heart pounding. No, she had to run quickly. She started to walk forward on her hands. "Before I could go far, they caught me. Do you still want to escape?" Her heart felt like it was being squeezed, her eyes were devoid of hope, despair filled her. The red-haired guy and the blue-haired guy with buck teeth looked at Via and smiled slyly. A short fat guy and a tall skinny guy are cornering the injured beast girl, they want to capture her to sell her. The short, fat, red-bearded man reached out to grab her. "I'll see where you're going." The tall, skinny, buck-toothed man standing next to him grinned slyly. The weak little girl had no strength to resist and could only beg. No, save me." Suddenly a voice came from behind. "Stop." Both mentally handicapped men turned their heads, looking around but saw no one. One frowned, the other widened his eyes. The tall, skinny guy with buck teeth spoke loudly. "Who is it? Dare to ruin my good thing?" This is the right question to ask, his voice full of authority. It was none other than Lu Feng, the lord of Xiang City, and his wolf army, Nina and Ellie. "Who are you? What are you doing here?" Lu Feng's voice became more fierce. The two mentally handicapped men were a bit worried when they saw the large group of people. They thought to themselves, "Oh no, this guy seems to be a big shot. We can't mess with him. You two are not from Xiang City. How dare you play this trick when the city lord is inspecting?" It turned out that the old man Buff, the clerk, also went with Lu Feng to inspect the people of the province. The old man stood up to criticize. The red-bearded fat man whispered to the green-haired man with buck teeth. "Hey, he seems to be the lord of Xiang City, Lu Feng." The buck-teeth man frowned and asked back. It's him." Beastman Via was now trembling with fear. She looked at Lu Feng and thought to herself, another noble. But next to him was a girl with rabbit ears, a dirty face, and teary eyes, trembling with fear, looking so pitiful. Ellie standing beside him suddenly spoke up. "Hey, they seem to be dealing in beastmen. You know what to do, right? How could a beastman dare to talk to a noble like that?" The green-haired, bunny-toothed man was extremely surprised to see Ellie talking to Lu Feng. Finished, he looked at the two beast girls beside the Western City Lord and thought again. Although he heard that the Western City Lord banned the trade of beastmen, but it seems that they are just ordinary nobles. They are just interested in raising beastmen. He thought so and then smiled friendly and said, "Sir, you are mistaken. What we captured is not a human, but a lowly beastman." He thought that saying so could cover up their actions. The lowly Lu Feng, Nina and Ellie were petrified for 5 seconds. The rabbit-toothed guy didn't expect that the words he said that seemed to help him escape punishment would actually be the trigger that detonated the 2 bombs next to Lu Feng. His time had come. Mina and Ellie's faces changed. The two girls rushed at the two scoundrels, scratching and clawing them to make them know what it means to be a lowlife. "Please, spare our lives," they cried out miserably. Beast Vaya was now in pain from her wound and had to think of a way to escape. She thought she had to escape now. She couldn't fall into the hands of the nobles anymore. She gritted her teeth and endured the pain, trying to get up. Here, under the thick grass, Mina found Via panting. "Found it, young master, that beastman is here." "Very good, bring him back." Vaya's eyes were now blurred from the pain. She could hear human voices in her ears but could not resist. She could only pray silently, "No," and then everything went dark. Back to the castle in the small room. Via was carried onto the soft bed. Lufone, Mina, Ellie and Old Man Buff stood around. The girl Via breathed heavily. A weak groan of pain. Old Man Buff was applying medicine to her wound, his face tense. The old man announced, "The wound is too deep, the blood is not stopping. I'm afraid it can't be saved." Mina and Ellie were very sad when they heard what Old Man Buff said. Ellie grabbed Mina's hand and said, "What should we do?" "Sister Mina, please save her," but Mina just shook her head. At this moment, Lufone spoke up. "It's not like there's no way. This wound, just need to get stitches." Lufone surprised everyone around. They asked in unison, "Take the needle and sew it back." And in answer to their question, Lufone appeared in a suit that people from another world had never seen before. He was wearing a doctor's surgical gown, also known as a blouse, a mask, and surgical gloves from the Earth world. Mina, Ellie, Nicole and Old Man Buff, all were extremely curious about the outfit Lufone was wearing. "What style is that?" Lufone saw that everyone was standing there dumbfounded and immediately gave an order. "What are you standing there for? Quickly use fire to heat the needle to detoxify it." Everyone said in unison, "Yes." A moment later, Lufone took off the bloody gloves and put them on the surgical tray. Inside were also cotton, knives, and forceps. All the surgical instruments Lufone used when treating the beast girl Via's wound. A large bandage was placed over the girl's shoulder. Phew, Lufone stitched up the girl's wound and stopped the bleeding. Old Man Buff approached to examine the wound. The old man exclaimed, "It's great, the bleeding has stopped." Lufone spoke again. "Give her 2 burn pills to prevent burn injuries." He prescribed it like a doctor, causing the 3 girls, Mina, Ellie, and Nicole, to gape in amazement at his medical skills. "I didn't expect the young master's medical skills to be so brilliant." "Father, mother." The beast girl Via was lost in her dreams. She called out for her father, called out for her mother. When I opened my eyes, I found myself tied up in a dark prison. A figure appeared. The man approached Via, pressed against the girl. In the dream, this person's face looked very much like Lufone. The girl who was tied up and unable to resist could only silently cry out in her subconscious, Don't come here." Perhaps because he had such a strong dislike for nobles, Lufone had entered the poor girl's nightmare upon meeting them for the first time. She startled and shouted, "Don't!" Then she sat up. The girl woke up to find herself lying on a clean bed with warm, white blankets. "It's a dream." The girl told herself it was just a dream. She looked out the window. The baby birds are chirping. Looking around the room, the candles were still burning. The wood fire crackled by the stove. The atmosphere was extremely quiet, pleasant and refreshing. The purple hydrangeas seemed to add a brilliant touch to the room. "Where is this?" she wondered. The girl sat on the bed looking out the window. The scenery outside was so poetic and romantic. She woke up. Someone spoke. Via turned around and suddenly shouted. It was her. Via looked at Mina with wary, fearful eyes. You don't come here. Don't come here. How can a noble be kind?" Via kept screaming, waving her hands wildly, not wanting Mina to come closer. Suddenly Mina grabbed Via's hand and pulled the beast girl's shirt down to reveal the wound. The wound was fine. "But don't move too much. You might get exposed," Mina said calmly. Only then did Via calm down. She thought to herself. So he wanted to see her wound. Mina got out of bed, turned around and left. Okay. She was fine. But Mina turned back to remind Via. From now on, she is not allowed to speak ill of the young master anymore. Via became silent and then suddenly burst into tears. Boo-hoo-hoo. Let me go. I want to go to the south. I don't want to stay here as a slave. Boo-hoo-hoo. Mom and Dad. I'm scared. Seeing Via crying. Mina's mind suddenly flashed with the image of herself at that time. Also scared. Also crying. Also weak. Mina pursed her lips. Don't cry anymore. No one is forcing you to be a slave here. Ellie stood in front of the door, one hand holding a tray. The other hand on her hip. She spoke loudly to the beast girl Via. She is free. Ellie's firm statement left the girl bewildered. Don't be afraid. Ellie continued. The young master has banned the trade of beastmen here. It can be said that this is a peaceful land for beastmen. Outside the castle, a flock of white doves were flying freely in the clear sky. Neighborhoods were connected, with spacious, luxurious houses and high-rise buildings close together. The western city is now extremely rich, developed, prosperous and flourishing. Young master, Lufeng and Mina were sitting in the room drinking tea. Ellie brought the beast girl over and introduced her. This is a beast girl named Via. The girl was changed into a clean, neat and tidy outfit. Lufeng smiled and happily called out. Come here and sit down, let's eat together. Don't be afraid, sit down. Ellie quickly pulled Via to sit down on the chair. Via's eyes were still filled with fear, she thought. Can beastmen and humans eat together? Really? Mina raised her teacup to drink, seemingly reminding Lufeng to be careful of his womanizing nature. There's another pretty girl appearing, you better be careful with your behavior, otherwise don't blame me. That's what Mina meant. Lufeng understood and said with a polite smile. Via, oh. Before she could finish her sentence, just mentioning Via's name, the girl quickly stood up. Perhaps because of being forced into slavery and being discriminated against for so long, it had been deeply ingrained in the girl's subconscious, and it was not easy to change and adapt to reality. Because she was too scared and worried, Via flustered and spilled her cup of tea on the table. At this moment, the girl was extremely wild. Hick, I've soiled the noble's table. She muttered, he will definitely be angry. Then he will make me do this, and this. Then I would rather die than follow. Then he. And so. Via thought about it all before coming back to reality. She quickly apologized, I immediately wiped it away. As she spoke, the beast girl took off her shirt, intending to clean the table with it. Ellie was shocked and spat out her tea. Mina quickly came over and covered Lufeng's eyes with her hands. The scene was extremely funny. Just then Nicole pushed up the food cart. The girl shouted, the steak is here. Finished, raised his head and saw the beast girl was about to take off her shirt. Nicole ran back and pulled down Via's beastman's shirt, shouting loudly. Why don't you dress properly? Then he pushed the girl down on the chair. Via mumbled an apology. Sorry, I just wanted to clean the table. Lufeng encouraged the girl. It's okay, your wound is better. Much better. Via replied. Ellie said he saved her. The girl remembered what Ellie said. Thinking, Via slowly raised her head to look at Lufeng and boldly said. Thank you. On the other side, Nicole brought the plate of beefsteak closer to Lufeng, blocking Lufeng's gaze towards Via. She smiled and invited. Young master, eat. Although she was smiling happily on the outside, Nicole was extremely uneasy inside. Damn it, another opponent, Nicole was worried. Lufeng took the plate of beefsteak from Nicole's hand and replied. Okay. And then the meal began. Via, do you know how to use a fork? No, Ellie said again. I will teach you. Beast girl Via brought a piece of steak to her mouth, tears welling up in her eyes. She had never eaten anything so delicious. So delicious. Was this food from heaven? Mina, you've been busy training your wolf warriors lately, so eat more. Lufeng said as he patted Mina's head. Via saw this and felt conflicted, doubtful or believing. Could it be that the young master they mentioned is really different from that noble? At the Taeduong River wharf, the waves were crashing, boats were bustling back and forth, and birds were flying in the sky. On the boat there was the sound of people talking, walking, transporting, and loading and unloading boxes of goods, bustling and noisy. The dragon boat is heading towards the western gate. Two people standing on the bow of the boat were chatting animatedly. They heard that the new river port in Taeduong City was being built. One person said it was not bad. But surely it's not that Lord Homa wants to deal with us, that's why he sent us here, the other person replied. Don't talk nonsense, just deliver the documents to Lord Carter. The mission is not difficult. The person who just spoke was the messenger of Lima City, Nobleman Ryan. And the person accompanying him was the servant Ryan. The two of them were on orders from Lord Homa to take a dragon boat to deliver documents to Carter, the Lord of Taeduong City. They had been thinking that way ever since Carter died at Mina's hands. They used to be knights, but now they were made civil servants. Servant Ryan continued to speak. It was all because you were too upright that you refused to meet him. Besides, in a few days, you will be marrying Miss Liga. This time again. He left his sentence unfinished. Messenger Ryan did not answer the servant. Just silently looked into the distance. The boat docked, the wind blew through the sails making a whistling sound. The messenger and his servant Ryan stepped down from the boat. On the shore, 3 or 4 horse-drawn carriage drivers came to greet them. "Hello, outside guest coming, need a carriage ride?" A man got out of the car and approached Ambassador Ryan to greet the guests. He even put his arm around the messenger's shoulder, his tone casual. "Go ahead and feel free." The servant Ryan saw that these people were not following any rules, so he quickly spoke up, Hey. What are you doing? Lord Ryan is a noble." I thought that by saying that, this man would be careful with his words, but no. He grinned even wider, gestured with his hand, and spoke in a very skillful manner. "Nobles should ride in my carriage. It's long and wide, with big, round wheels." Furthermore, he suddenly stopped and leaned close to the messenger's ear. "The other rickshaw drivers all took 5 coins, but I only took 3 coins. "What? 3 coins? Robbery?" The servant Ryan shouted angrily. The rickshaw driver quickly waved his hand to explain. No, you misunderstood, sir. It's copper coins, a new invention of the city lord." He pulled out a silver coin, pointing at it excitedly as he spoke. 1 normal coin can be exchanged for 10 coins. Everyone loved it. At this moment, the messenger and the servant Ryan suddenly understood. Copper coins, the price was not bad. "Here, we go too," the servant said to the coachman. The coachman answered yes and led them onto the carriage, controlling the horse to run away. The carriage rolled steadily on the path leading into the city with the coachman's voice urging the horse to run faster. Lord Ryan sat in the carriage looking at the coins of the western city. He carefully examined every detail and then exclaimed in praise, "The manufacturing technique is truly amazing. Please take a look, my lord." The 2 of them had reached the city gate. They looked around in a daze. The streets were crowded with people. The shops. The bustling commercial centers. The sounds of laughter and chatter were everywhere. Xi'an City was already too magnificent. Even more magnificent than Lima City. The 2 of them spoke to each other. Envoy Ryan looked around, the architecture. The people. Life. He thought to himself, such magnificent architecture, such happy people. What kind of person is Carter? Is he really just an aristocrat oppressing the people? The magnificent castle appeared sparkling in the sunlight. "Greetings, City Lord, I am Ryan from Lima City." Envoy Ryan and servant Ryan respectfully salute Lu Feng, City Lord of 11 Yan City. When Uncle Niu Ben heard that the person came from Lima City, he quickly stood up and cautiously warned Lu Feng. "He is from Lima City, young master, be careful." The messenger of Lima City felt a little strange when he heard Niu Ben speak. Wasn't Carter a man of Baron Homa? Why was he so wary of him? Envoy Ryan respectfully said. "Lord, please don't misunderstand. I am here to deliver an important secret message to you on the orders of Baron Homa." Lu Feng exclaimed at this moment. Then Niu Ban and Lu Feng returned to the desk to open the secret letter and see. The 2 men of Lima City did not silently observe. Lu Feng thought to himself after reading the secret letter sent from Lima City. "Ha! Looks like the fake intelligence we sent to Homa worked. They really thought Carter had recaptured Xi'an City. Give me the secret message of collusion given to these 2 people." Suddenly Lu Feng threw the secret letter to the ground. "Then tell the 2 people of Lima City. You 2 look for yourselves, what is written in the secret letter given to me?" Messenger Ryan immediately rushed to the secret letter to see. "My lord," the servant called after him. The face of the messenger Lima changed after reading each word of the secret message. The plan to surround and capture Bac Feng City. Lu Feng stood up at this moment, pointed at Ryan, and shouted loudly. Homa was a noble, but for money, he disguised himself as a bandit, robbed a village. Now he wanted to join hands with Carter to destroy Beifeng City. Here, Ryan was still confused with the secret letter. Not knowing how to explain, Ryan's servant rushed over. "I told you that Baron Homa is no good. My lord, he deliberately called you here to kill and silence you." "Sir, please go quickly, I am here to help you block. If there is a next life, I still wish to be a buffalo or a horse." Ryan's servant spoke for a while, then he ran over and stood with his arms outstretched, blocking Ryan, loyal to him. A servant like him has the temperament and loyalty of a gentleman, truly admirable. But it's also funny because Lu Feng is not that kind of person. Why did you turn me into a bad person? Lu Feng thought. A moment later, Ryan stood up, looked at Lu Feng and said. Looks like you're not Carter. The Lord of Western City, Lu Feng, is the real deal. Lu Feng introduced himself humorously. If so, I will also have difficulty avoiding death. The messenger of Lima City spoke. But I have a favor to ask of you, sir. He bowed respectfully to Lu Feng and said, please be sure to bring intelligence to Beifeng City. Prepare a defense plan early. Avoid a bloodbath for the people. Lu Feng heard the messenger of Lima City speak. Then he became silent. He ordered the two of them to be brought down first. Yes, young master, those two people just now don't seem like bad people, Nyoben said. Yes, they even gave me a big gift, Lu Feng replied. So is it necessary to inform BAC Feng City? Of course. It just so happens that my new port also needs a few big ships. He. Lu Feng clenched the secret letter in his hand and smiled smugly to himself. At the river wharf of BAC Feng City. The boats had docked by the river, the waves crashing against the sides of the boats. Birds flew high above, occasionally diving down to the water. A group of people were hurriedly loading and unloading the cargo boxes from the boats.